What's going on, everyone? It's Mikey here from the Students of S.H.I.E.L.D. And just real quick before the video starts, I just wanted to quickly thank Shawn, David, and Stacey for joining me on this podcast. It was a great conversation, one of the best podcasts that I've ever been a part of, in my opinion, and I really hope you guys enjoy it. So I'll leave all their socials and in the description below so you can follow them all and check out all their amazing work. And without further ado, happy Juneteenth, and let's start the video. Alright. Welcome to another one-shot panel brought to you by the Students of S.H.I.E.L.D. I'm Mikey, and today is a very special podcast, a surprise podcast that I didn't tell any of my friends about, but it's our Juneteenth special, talking about all things Milestone, because this week, officially like yesterday, Milestone has come back. Well, they've come back since Milestone Returns #1, but this first issue of Static dropped yesterday. So that's big ups. But so I decided not to have my fellow students with me, but to have some talented Black creators that I know to join me in this conversation. So I'm going to introduce to them right now. So joining me to my right is a scholar, assistant professor at the University of Illinois. I'm just making sure you get that right. And co-creator of the renowned Black Kirby exhibition, Stacey Robinson. How you doing, Stacey?
How's it going? Thank you for having me. It's good to be here.
There's no problem. Glad to have you here. All right, to my bottom right corner is now a good friend of mine, one of the hardest working freelance artists that I know. Repping Philly, repping Barbados, founder of Pyroglyphics Studios, founder of the community that I'm a part of now, known as the Xion Network, Mr. Shawn Alleyne. How you doing, Shawn?
What's going on, sir? I forgive you for the Alleyne. All right, I get it. It's Barbadian. It's hard to say it sometimes. It's cool, right? Yeah. Thanks for having me.
It's no problem. I knew I wasn't gonna get it right, but like I at least tried.
But the reason I did is because every week on the Xion Network, right? You're in the comments coming at me for my pronunciations and stuff, right?
Yeah, word.
Oh,
so
okay,
listen, it's comeuppance. It's I get it. You can hear me on my own podcast. It's fine. All right. So not last but not least, to the bottom is person that I did not expect to get on here, but we're blessed to have him on here. Superstar, director, screenwriter, filmmaker, CEO of Woke Nation Studios, and now the creator of you can check it out on YouTube, the Dakota City Chronicles, which are the Milestone fan films, Mr. David Kirkman. How you doing, David?
Hey, I'm doing well. Thank you so much for having me. I'm glad.
It's no problem. Listen, we're all big fans. We're all three of us in here are all big fans of your work. So listen, we're honored to have you here, man. Appreciate it.
No, thank you, man. Appreciate it.
It's no problem. All right, so just to start off again, this is just talking Milestone here, because it's a celebration, because Juneteenth's coming up. As of now, it's not Juneteenth because we're pre-recording this, but on Saturday we'll be uploading this. Will be Juneteenth. So yeah, we'll just get right into it. So just a brief history lesson, because this is gonna be a crash course. Shout out to my students who don't know what Milestone is, which hurts my soul a little bit, but it's fine. So obviously, Milestone Media, founded in 1993. I don't know the exact month, but it's fine. We'll just say 1993 for now. It was founded by these four gentlemen: Dwayne McDuffie, Dennis Cowan, Derek Dingle, and Michael Davis, and was an imprint of DC Comics that was focused on showcasing Black characters of color with Black creators, telling these stories. And what was special, because this was a DC imprint, but they had no connection with DC at all. It was its own separate universe. And I think then over here we see this picture of Paul Levitz was I believe the head of DC at that time in the 90s. But yeah, man, so I just want to start it off with this intro conversation starter over here, just so like how we all found Milestone Comics, and I will go with Stacey first, just to start off.
Yeah, so I was first introduced to Milestone through following Mark Bright, the artist on Icon. I followed him from Iron Man, actually.
Nice.
And then consequently, I found out that Mark Bright was a black artist, and it changed my life. Like I was like, um, earlier than that, I am a comic book store owner. Um, I walked in the store one day and I was just sad, upset. And he was like, "Yo, Stacey, not used to seeing you like this. What's going on?" I said, I wanna draw comics, but there's no black comic book artist." He's like, "What are you talking about? You know who Mark Bright is?" Like, "Yeah, he's my favorite artist." He said, "Did you know he's black?" Right? Changed my life. It changed my life in like 30 seconds, right? So I followed him from Iron Man a few years later to Icon, and that was my first introduction to Milestone. I didn't read the other books until another friend of mine introduced me to the other books. We did one of those staying up all night sessions and read every single Milestone issue. Circa '96, I moved to New York City with that same best friend, and the next day would be my third time showing up in the Milestone offices. Was always trying to get a job there teaching. Got accepted to art school, and I could not afford to go. Didn't know anything about financial aid, so I got pissed and moved to New York.
Gotcha.
And I moved to New York City the day that Tupac died. That's how I know that.
Facts. Wow.
And the next morning was my very first day showing up at the Milestone offices, trying to show pages again. I left there at 5 o'clock in the evening because that was the end of my first day of an internship.
Gotcha.
And that was life changing. That was better than college.
Nice. Wow, that's great. That's great. Thanks, Stacey, for sharing that. All right, so we'll go to Shawn next. Well, how did you find Milestone, sir?
I came from Barbados where a comic book was $10 a book. So wow. I had a very sparse collection of comics, and coming to America where comics were relatively much cheaper, I used to devour comics every week, and I used to go up to a spot, Willow Grove Comics, and I remember going in there, and I always used to I used to look for indie stuff. Like, I always liked Marvel and DC and stuff like that, but the image stuff always drew me. And I remember my first Milestone comic book was Blood Syndicate, and I didn't get it at first in terms of like, wait, what? Like, I knew something hit me in my spirit, something hit me in my soul, but I didn't understand what it was. And looking at that cover, seeing the signs that the people was pulling up and reading it, I was like, yo, it's a comic book about not the good guys. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
This is a gang that they got powers too. What would that be like? And for some reason that blew my mind. Like, you know what I mean? Like, just the fact of it wasn't the typical goody two shoes type of approach. And from there is when I went back and I was like, yo, what is this? What is this company? And I had to know more. But that was my first encounter with Milestone, and finding out about them. And then from there it was, I can't remember which comic book it was afterwards, but I knew I started trying to get my hands on what I could, and I got not Blood Syndicate, what's it called? Shadow Cabinet. Shadow Cabinet came out. It was one of my favorites. Static was cool, but it was, for me, it was Blood Syndicate and Shadow Cabinet. So that was my first encounter with Milestone.
Facts, man. Good. Thanks for sharing. That was good. Good story. All right, David, you're up, man.
For me, it was a little different. So I didn't really, I guess I really didn't like discover Milestone. It was like I kind of stumbled into it. So I didn't grow up like reading comic books. I was never like a comic book nerd. I was more of like a comic book movie nerd, right? So I'm one of those people that was like, who would like follow, all the Spider-Man films, X-Men films, a few of the DC films that were coming out. But I wasn't like going back into, reading the comic books or anything like that. So I grew up like, a lot of people in my generation watching Static Shock. And I decided back in like 2017 to make like this short film about it. And through that, me like learning about the character was like, oh, Static was created, by this company called Milestone, Milestone Comics. And then I'm reading about Milestone Comics, and I'm like, what the fuck? Like, how come I didn't know that a company like this even existed? It was madly successful. It was employing a lot of black artists, and it launched a lot of black artists' careers as well, who are a lot of, some of them are, pretty big in that comic book space and, in the independent space as well. And so I'm like, you got to be kidding me. And so you stumble into all these different characters with Icon and Rocket, and obviously like Hardware and the Blood Syndicate and all of them. And I mean, I didn't read every single comic book or anything. I'm not going to tell you, I did that, but I did do my research. It was just like it just felt incredible. It felt incredible. It's like I gravitated to that more than I did, standard DC or Marvel proper, and it resonated with me. And I felt this as I did more research on Dwayne McDuffie. I felt this kind of this drive or urge to at least bring a few of the characters to light, and that would be like my college. Since I dropped out, I felt like this would be a time for me to just like learn, get better, making short films and storytelling and connect and network and blah blah blah. So that's what that was for me.
Gotcha. All right, man. Thanks. Good story. And also, like I said, we love your. I remember seeing your Static film the first time. I was like, dude, this is tough. This is a tough film.
Yeah.
So yeah, I can see where that how you stumbling upon it makes sense with why would you be able to make do what you do now. But yeah, thanks for that. So I'm the gracious host, so I'm gonna go last. So I always tell people, I always tell people that like I like knew Milestone, but like didn't know Milestone. So like this is background on me. I was born in '99, so like I was already way past when Milestone came out. My parents didn't even immigrate to the States at the time, so until like '97. But what really so what happened was with me not knowing Milestone, but knowing it was living in Queens at the time. I was like 4 or 5 years old. And that's when I saw the Static TV show the first time, and I was like, what the hell? Like, who is this? Like, what is this? Like, it's literally because I grew up loving like Superman, Spider-Man. I was a big Spider-Man kid, Batman, but never saw one that looked like me. So like seeing that was just like especially like a black nerd. I was a nerd ever since I was like young. I knew I was a nerd since I was young. So like seeing like a black nerd, no less, just blew my mind. And then it blew my mind again when I saw the Black Panther a few years later, now seeing an African superhero, because I'm Tanzanian American. So seeing that in just also blew my mind a second time. But again, I knew this TV show, then I didn't really discover Milestone until, to be honest, like I say like 6 or 7 years ago when, because in high school, I was like around a junior. So I was like, think about plans of what college I was going to, my graduation plans, what I was going to do after. So then I wanted to I love comics. I love, graphic design. I love I always wanted to be a comic book artist, which I'm still trying. That's still my goal. So, I looked up, hey, let me see other Black creators to see what steps they've taken. And then the name Milestone kept popping up. And I was like, what's Milestone? So I dug deeper, did my research to find out that Milestone created my favorite character of all time. And I had no idea. So after that, it was just a rabbit hole of just researching all the company itself, like Dwayne's work, Dennis's work, etc. And then finding out, like Icon, Hardware, and then just the whole Milestone universe. And again, with David being like, how come I've never known about this? Like, it just was mind blowing seeing there was a like Black collective of creators back in the day while they were making their own universe of characters that looked like us. So like that's basically how it's happened. And when I came to college, I just wanted to collect as much as I could, and it's mostly just Static stuff. But yeah, man, that's how I found out. And it's funny because like with Dwayne's work, I'm a huge Justice League Unlimited fan. That's like one of my favorite cartoons, like DC cartoons ever. And knowing the fact that like Dwayne was the reason why I loved a lot of like small characters in DC Comics, like Green Arrow, Mr. Terrific, the All-Star Squadron, like all that stuff, So just to see like Dwayne's legacy is carried throughout, my nerdy life, and I had no idea it was great. So yeah, that's how I discovered Milestone Comics. So
And shouts out to McDuffie because Dwayne is the reason why your generation recognizes John Stewart as Green Lantern.
yeah,
Before Hal Jordan, right?
exactly.
Because of him, placing him on the Justice League and all of that. Shouts out to that's progress.
Exactly. I didn't even know who Hal Jordan was for years until I saw so my mom gave me a Green Lantern comic and it was Hal Jordan. I'm like, that's not Green Lantern. That's not my boy John. That's
Right, exactly.
so yeah, for
Exactly.
real. Yeah, that just his career in animation after Milestone ended was a big deal. So
Right.
yeah, that's great notes,
And
Stacey.
one of the things I love about what Dwayne did too, not just because of course you always want to support your Nubian brothers and sisters, but he was actually good. You know what I mean? It wasn't
Yeah,
just I never felt like, oh man, I'm just supporting for the sake of supporting. I was like, yo, I he deserves support. You know what I mean? Like his ideas and what he did for the industry was legendary.
exactly.
Right.
Yeah, not just him, but everyone else. Dennis, of course, obviously, and
Well, yeah,
so
no, I just meant from the on the Justice League part,
Justice League
but
stuff.
yeah,
Yeah, yeah,
on the milestone part, yeah, definitely all those those guys were pioneers for me. You know what I mean? And what's funny is that they they were supposed to drop before Image, so a lot of people are like, yo, Image led that renaissance of artists leaving the big two and doing their own thing. But I forgot exactly what the reason was. Milestone
Mhm.
was supposed to be first, but for whatever
hmm
reason, you know what I mean?
yeah. Fair enough. Yeah, I mean, Image was a big part of that. Having creators do whatever they wanted, but yeah, Milestone definitely was a much bigger contribution to that landscape, in my opinion. So yeah, well, yeah. So we'll just get right into the books, the characters. So again, history lesson, people. So after once Milestone was founded, they made the smart decision of having their main characters focusing on those main comic archetypes. So the Superman archetype, the Iron Man or Batman archetype, the superhero team, and then basically because of Spider-Man and his character, the teenage superhero archetype. So basically those manifested into Static, Icon, Hardware, and the Blood Syndicate. So yeah, so we'll just talk about basically just talking about the first. Oh, it's not the first book, but Static first because Static is my favorite character and I'm biased and it's my podcast. So
Yeah.
but yeah, so Static. Not I don't remember which month again it came out. Sorry, Shawn. David, you're black. I just use this for editing. But so it came out in I believe 93, and it was written by Dwayne McDuffie as well as and Robert L. Washington III, and drawn by the late recently departed John Paul Leon. That's how it kicked off, and
Mhm.
yeah, man, it's when I eventually did find these books, and I read them. I was just like, dude, blew my mind. This is my first time seeing John Paul Leon's stuff. Then I looked up more of his work after that and saw his stuff with his Batman, his Earth X stuff. So yeah, I have the book right here, just for our audience to look at. But yeah, man. So anyone wants to open the floor to who wants to talk about their thoughts on Static.
Yeah, and I just want to shout out Sean Martinborough, I believe, who Sean Martinborough was a primary inker on Static, I believe.
I believe so.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not. Well, I know he was, but I'm just. I'm trying to remember how many issues he actually inked, and I can't remember the who colored the book, but I can't remember who actually colored the book. But shouts out to Milestone because they were doing. I mean, they were doing watercolor,
Word.
right? And those. I mean, they were the watercolor, the coloring, the colorists that they had on those books do not get enough love.
Mm.
Shouts out to Micheline Hess and Jason Scott Jones and Noel Giddings. At least two, at least, and I can't remember. I might be Jackie Ching also, but I couldn't. I don't think she was colorist. I can't remember. But man, I'm telling you, those books were unique. So yeah, Image was doing their thing, but Milestone was really doing their thing.
Yeah, especially because
Yeah,
like Image went straight to like I think digital coloring at that time. Like they were one of the first companies to do that, and I think
exactly.
so.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And
Me,
Milestone also needs to be recognized for pioneering a lot of. Uh, they were diverse before, a lot of DEI initiatives as well. So you saw a lot of queer characters back in the day when a
of
lot
course,
of people, a lot of companies weren't even touching the subject. For example,
mm,
right? For
exactly.
example, and
Yeah,
I'm
so
done. I'm
yeah, yeah.
sorry. I'm done.
That's all good. I just want to say real quick, yeah, Static was was again my intro to the character, TV show first, then comics. I just thought his origin was very interesting. I mean, obviously for people who don't, I'm for people like people probably know who Static is, but like Static, being the teenage like black nerd representing like of the first blurred in comics basically at that time, and his origin with his bully Francis. I keep saying Francis Stone. I'm not sure. I'll say F stop because I mean I'm just so used to like the TV show names. But with Hot Streak and him like trying to like getting into like the gang world for a second, almost like having to kill Hot Streak was very different. And like I've never seen that before in a superhero character before as an origin story, especially like even though I left Queens very young, I was like 6 years old when I moved out to PA after that. But like seeing like this like the way they did like gang representing gang violence and having that in the stacks Virgil's origin, was very interesting to see because like that's how I was living at the time. I lived in Far Rockaway, Queens, and it was at that time it was not great. So yeah, just figure like
mm.
definitely.
Mm.
But
This
yeah,
was
man,
this was like
it's
the interesting thing, like for me, and I had this conversation with somebody a couple weeks ago because I think you brought up like Black Panther, right?
yeah,
And the thing with I love Black Panther. I went to go see like the movie itself. I went to go see it like 3 times in theaters. When they had the animated cartoon, I
yeah,
watched
word,
that over and over and over again. But there was also this weird minor disconnect because you're talking about an African from Africa, right? And it's
yeah,
just like our experience is a little bit different here, being black here in America. And I think that's what makes Static's character so incredibly powerful to people here, and also like in more developed countries as well. Is that he was street, he was what I'm saying, like he
yeah,
had some hood to him, had some hood swag to him, but he was also super nerdy. He was very
exactly,
nerdy and he could nerd out, and there was a lot of people who could resonate with that character a lot more, and we've yet to see like 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 a film or animated movie on with some serious dollars behind it that
exactly,
that show like the black experience in that supernatural and comic book way. We have yet to see
exactly.
that, and I don't know. That's a whole different conversation, but I just
Yeah, of
wanted to bring
course.
that up.
Yeah, of
To play
course.
off what you saying, David, as far as like that little streetness, that little edge, and the blackness of the character,
Mm,
I'm going to take it. I'm going to tackle it from another slightly nerdy side too, right? As a guy that I was creating characters since I was a little kid. It was always something about the perfect name, right? Always used to
mhm.
get me. You get the name of a character, sometimes you hear the name in comics, you know what I mean? Dark Blood. What can he do? What's his powers? What is he?
Right,
And the name
right,
Static, right? And that being in Nubian culture, that being in American slang, like slang for trouble, you know what I mean? And but then that tying in to his powers of static electricity. And then the catchphrase on the first cover, don't start none, won't be none. You know what I mean? You don't want no static.
Exactly.
Like
right,
every layer
right.
of these characters, exuded that feeling of, what I mean? And, even though I'm an immigrant, growing up, I came over here when I was 16. So, you know what I mean? Like, and I was always big into rap. So it just had that real that real street level feel, that real urban feel, that connection to the people. You know what I mean? It wasn't just some arbitrary name like shot guy. It was like, you know what I mean? It
Exactly.
had a grittiness and another layer to it.
I want to interject just a really quick thought though. And the complexity of Black culture, right? So you have Static, and I love how you talked about that, Shawn. You have Static, right? And the pulse of the Black community, like we understand that, we get that. Flip side of that is Milestone also had a character named Iron Butterfly, right? One of my other favorite characters as
One
well,
of my
right?
favorite characters.
Right.
Best
And
design.
Iron Butterfly, the name shouting out the band, right? The rock band, right? Right. Which goes back to, I mean, that's actually before my generation, but their classic song In the Gata Davita. I'll just, for the fan base out there, yo, look that up and you'll recognize the hip hop sample, so,
Exactly.
or you should, right? So saying all that to say, there's a complexity to Black culture that Milestone was on. Yep, you had Static, and then you also had Iron Butterfly. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
All right, I'm done. I'm geeking out, yeah, because you're bringing me back to my time at Milestone, and y'all are funny because, Mikey, you're talking about you were born after I long left New York. That was crazy, right? It's like, wow. I'm like, wait a minute, how old are you?
I'm 20. I'm 22. If you do the math. But, yeah.
Wow. It's beautiful. It's beautiful.
And oh, sorry, go ahead. Sir.
No, you got it, Shawn.
No, I was going to jump on what piggyback off of something that Stacey was saying, going back, touching on that diversity again too, because if I remember correctly, tell me if I'm wrong here. Iron Butterfly was Muslim, right? Wasn't she?
Which country
she was from? Yeah, she was Palestinian.
She was Palestinian.
I had to just look her up. I was like, yeah, let me look this up again because it's been a minute,
Right. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I think she was Palestinian.
Mm-hmm. Right. You know what I mean? And just the fact that they were doing characters, like you said, of different cultures, different sexual orientations. I believe they had one of the first transgender characters with Masquerade. They had one of the first like openly gay characters with who's the guy that could turn into vapor? He was
was it Fade? Was that Fade?
Yeah.
Fade, yeah, from Blood Syndicate. You know what I mean?
Like a Puerto Rican gay man. So
that's what I mean. Like they were doing things way before. And one of the things I love about how they did it was on like where it feels more like a checkbox type of creation process. Like, okay, wait, is the person Black? Okay, but what else can we give him? Is he gay? Okay, let's make him gay. Okay, like it just felt more organic with the Milestone days, and it was just part of the story. You know what I mean? It didn't have to be this is the character's selling point. It was like, yo, we're this and we're gay, but we're also this and we're kick ass. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It was more. It just felt more organic.
Yeah, and then you had Donner and Blitzen too.
Oh my gosh!
Right.
Yo, y'all taking me back. Yeah. Hold up.
Yo, talk about other characters like in the other character section, but like to get just on track with Static, just real quick. I suppose my two favorite. I put 2 pages up here for like my favorite moments of Static. Are really important to the character. Of course, on the left, the Big Bang was like a very interesting concept of how to make a superhero universe. Because they were at the time he said, I remember watching an interview, I think like Dennis Cowan focusing on like the Bed-Stuy incident back in the day, like the riots and the police brutality that was happening over there at that time was a big influence. And just having the just again the social commentary of police always getting like doing stuff dirty to communities of color was so great. And the Big Bang was dope, and as well as over here introducing the character of Hot Streak, who and people forget. I know like people remember him in the show, but in the comics he was a straight up Nazi. Like, he was a straight up neo-Nazi. Like, I'll never forget the cover. Yeah, the cover of I have the issue, but like it's in a box. But it was like Static versus Hot Streak, and he's literally making it wasn't Static versus Hot Streak. It was Milestone Forever, which we'll talk about later on. But like he was making like fire constructs out that were like swastikas. It was like, dude, like,
yo, for real. Yeah. I can't remember the first issues like panel for panel, you know what I mean? Too exactly. That's crazy. I
That's
didn't know that.
nuts.
I forgot that.
But yeah, man, and there are other characters that were like his villains, like the Rogues Gallery was dope. Like Puff, Viral, you know, and then like I remember a character called a female like partner I called Dusk that showed up for a little bit, was dope. And then you know seeing Virgil, you know, dating well have his love interest Frida, Freaky Frida Gorin, who was I think was Jewish. Which I never like. That was Mike, you know. Even in the show, seeing like first time I ever seen like a biracial like love interest before. I never really see that like when I as a kid, so that was new. Yeah, but and also at the time, Richie, who was Rick in the comic, was gay, and that was a big deal. So
one
Static
of the things that
Virgil
Static gets.
Virgil did struggle with it. He did.
Yeah, he struggled with
interesting.
So that was like a whole like story arc. So that was like Milestone was just way ahead of his time, man. Just way ahead of his time.
Do you remember how they dealt with it? Like how was that resolved, so to speak, in the comic book? Like
it's been a while since I read the whole Static. I read the whole thing, but like I don't remember that. Yeah, I don't remember. But I don't know.
I mean, I know he makes peace with it. You know, it's not this super long, drawn out, you know, thing. But he ends up making peace with the fact that, you know, just because of who you are, you know, that's not going to stop me from being friends with you. And so, yeah, he was just willing. I think it just showed like another level of growth in Virgil. That was pretty amazing to see. And, you know, these are stories that were made then that we don't even see now in stuff, which is crazy.
It's nuts.
Crazy. You don't even see it now.
You see, but see, once again, too, right? For me, that's why I'm such a fan of those books, because I and this is just me, you know, I'm going to talk plain right now, right? I think nowadays, of course, that, you know, there's more understanding. There's still a long ways to go as far as like acceptance of you know, whatever a person, whether it's pronouns or sexual interest or whatever, right? But I feel like nowadays that because we are looking to make everybody feel as safe as possible, like we don't want to ruffle feathers, right? In today's culture, I think you know, now is a little more. Milestone back then wasn't afraid to kind of poke the bear or kind of tackle those real life conflicts. You know what I mean? What if a person isn't comfortable with some person being gay? That's nature. You know what I mean? And then you have that conversation. You know what I mean? You have that talk. I remember I got a friend who was so, you know, so I'm straight. I suspected that he was gay, and the way he would interact with me was that he used to try to come off to me like really like heterosexual, right? In terms of like, you know, liking women, right? He would be like, "Oh, Shawn, look at this girl," right? I'm like, "Yeah, she's a good looking woman." Like, and in my head, I'm like, "Why are you looking?" You know what I mean? And one day we were on this we were coming back from a convention, and I asked him, you know what I mean? I say, "Hey man, you know, I want to ask you something, you know, like, are you gay?" He damn near crashed the car. He said, What do you mean?" And but then we had this real amazing conversation where, you know, he said yes. He said, "You know, how'd you know?" And I said, "Oh man, I just had this suspicion." But I said, "I want you to be you. I want you to feel comfortable. You don't have to pretend to you know, to like a woman to make me feel okay." You know what I mean? So on the flip side too, like I want comics, man, to still be able to tackle the tough issues and those tough conversations. Sometimes for some people, everybody's different. You know what I mean? And just because some person may not be aware of something or fully accepting of something, that doesn't mean they never will be. You know, like conversation. That's what conversation is supposed to be about. You know what I mean? Like,
well, no, I think that's what made, and that's what still makes Milestone just so incredible, right? Was that not only were they able to talk about the conversations, but they were able to do it in such a way to where it was nuanced, that it was a lot more complex and less black and white than how we try to make it out to be. And so
Exactly.
even myself, being gay myself and navigating, that space and identifying with several of the characters within the Milestone lore, I can tell you, bro, like they were just way ahead of the game on that.
Exactly.
Mm.
I'm just gonna close it off right now, just so we can move on to Icon. But like, yeah,
Real
Static.
quick, I
What's up?
wanna say something else about Icon when you're done, Mikey. Just real
All right,
quick.
word. Yeah, no, we're gonna talk about Icon like next. But
I
yeah,
mean,
but
sorry,
Static,
yes, Static. Sorry, I want
yeah,
to say something about
Static
Static when
was
you're done.
dope. It ended in '97, along with all the other books did, and had like 45 issues, which was a solid run for the book. But yeah, man, this character's dope. I mean, again, he's kind of timeless at this point. Because again, not with the show, then he have him in his other appearances, and now the comics coming back. He has a deep place in my heart. I always tell Shawn I'm gonna one day draw Static in my lifetime. So like, it's
Let's
dope.
do it,
But
bro. Put it into existence. I just
man,
want to say this real quick. A lot of people give him flack about the trash can lid. I freaking
yeah,
love it. I'm
dude, the sewer
sorry,
great. I'm a sewer great fan with Static. Not
man. All of that, bro. The sewer grits. I love it. It just added more to that grittiness, that edge, that that authentic, like kind of like urban feel. That's just me, man.
word, no, for sure. All right, so we're gonna move on to the Superman archetype here. So we're talking about like Icon. Again, uh, I have to piss Shawn off again. I have the number one of Icon.
I hate him
Uh,
so much.
yeah, but yeah. So yeah, Icon again. '93 came out and was hit the Superman character of the Milestone universe. And just the quick synopsis, it would involve I forget what August's like alien name is, but an alien crash lands on planet Earth similar to Superman, and lands in the 1800s and takes the DNA of a nearby slave woman and is now turned into a black baby and is raised throughout centuries as a black man. And then we get the in present day we get the character of Raquel Irving, who comes across him while trying to rob his own home and gives him the idea of, hey, like, you should use your powers for good, man, come on now. And that's the birth of Icon and Rocket. So and it was written, I think this was also written by Dwayne, and I forget, I think it was drawn by MD Bright. So yeah, so anyone wants to open up with this character?
I used to call him a Superman archetype too, and I
He's more like
like
Martian
that.
Manhunter. He's more like Martian Manhunter.
Well, no. I'm not even about to argue that point, because it doesn't matter, right?
Yeah, of course.
One of the things I like about is Icon is actually a really solid critique of Superman, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I'm also remembering that your audience doesn't recognize these characters.
Yeah.
But
you want to preach? You could feel free to preach. Come on,
no. But no, I don't want to take up too much time.
Course.
But just thinking about how, for example, he takes on the DNA of an enslaved. I like to say enslaved African.
Yeah.
And is raised as a black man. He's a Republican, which makes a lot of sense. And aspiring to certain ideals that might have or inspired by the Emancipation Proclamation and by Lincoln.
Exactly.
And just living for like 150 years or over 150 years and having a very different perspective, right, on Black life and the ability to, quote, pull ourselves up by our bootstraps, right?
Exactly.
So he had been able to do that through, for 150 years. Like there's a massive critique around the ideas of Black power and Icon that. In some ways, I feel I wanted more. I always wanted more, but I wanted more as a 49-year-old, right? When I was in my mid 20s or early 20s reading these books, I didn't understand the depth of the commentary.
Exactly.
Not at the time. Mm-hmm.
But I'll say this just real quick. Well, I thought what was just interesting about the character, one, what you mentioned that he was a black conservative, again showcasing that black conservatives do exist. And I found it funny that Dwayne was a liberal and was writing a black conservative character, which I thought was very interesting. And also, like, just quick story, I'll explain the character to my girlfriend because obviously the book's coming back, and I was saying like, oh, you might like the new Icon Rocket book, and I'll explain the origin to her. and she was like, "Oh wait, so this is just a Superman character with just a female partner? Like it's just in his perspective?" Like, no. What made it interesting was the whole book was told through Rocket's perspective, and which was like unheard of at the time. And he's like, "Oh, okay, well, like that's actually interesting." So yeah, like the fact that Rocket was telling the story of Icon through her eyes, I thought was very interesting and very obviously showing it's very diverse in terms of female characters in comics. So that's what I want to point it out.
Um, I love this. I love this character because to this day, I teach a comic book workshop after school class, and one of the things that I do is that I try to have the kids create their own characters. The whole object of the workshop is to have kids come up with their own characters, not just, oh, here's how to draw a face. Here's, I focus it around superheroes and character design and stuff like that. And I lay out these 10 points in the beginning of like, a simple way to create characters. And one of the things I say is, what's the twist, right? So I tell them, well, let's say you have an idea that may seem similar to something. How can you take that idea and do your own take on it? And to this day, still, I mean, these are like sometimes the 8-year-olds, 12-year-olds, whatever, you know what I mean? And I use Icon as the example of that point to this day, you know what I mean? And taking let's say you have a character, so I tell them something like, okay, there's a baby that comes to Earth, gets powers, fights crime. Who's that? Superman. Okay, cool. I said, all right, now there's another child comes to Earth, gets powers, fights crime. Who's that? There's still Superman. I said, no, Icon. Boom, break down the origin of Icon, right? They're astounded. That the concept, the twist that they did, incredible. I love how it like you said, it was done through the eyes of Rocket. Bringing the reader, like having the reader be an observer into this alien's life. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
The one of the things for me, I'm trying to remember. I need to find out. Did they ever? I think this was a major point in the comic books. What did he do to help with, like, to aid against slavery? I was trying to remember if they ever tackled that in the comic books.
They didn't on a literal level, but like meaning like they didn't spend like issues and issues talking about it. But there were several montage sequences that showed him in certain spaces with like standing with Martin Luther King, like when Martin Luther King was giving his "I Have a Dream" speech. That sort of. So he was involved, but it seemed like he was more involved in the background. But I think this goes to show even a more interesting element as a in regards to just white supremacy, even with how powerful this dude is. You don't think that this dude was trying to fight back?
No.
You know what I mean? This dude
because I got a take on it.
This dude fought in the Civil War. You know what I'm saying? Like they showed this dude fighting in the Civil War.
Because I was thinking they could be a cool way to retcon that. Like if they ever did something where because his shit was rewriting his DNA, his powers didn't activate till years later. I was thinking that would be a cool way to like retcon that.
I would say like it would be a cool way to retcon it, but at the same time it's like he doesn't age like we do either. So his powers at some capacity they were definitely heightened, like his abilities
for sure.
And so I think like I said I personally like the dynamic. It's like this dude he's the most powerful person in the Milestone universe, and yet he couldn't put an end to the injustices that Black people face on a day-to-day basis. He couldn't stop it.
Exactly.
All right. Let me jump in real quick. Which is what one of the things I love about when we meet him in the 90s, right? So he becomes Black and affluent, right? And still powerful, but he uses his powers for self, right?
Yeah.
And it's interesting, like going from David's point, right, from black abolition to self, right?
Yeah.
And you know, let's say 100 years or so, over 100 years, right? What did he see? Right? What changes him? What does he see? How does he become disenchanted with
Yeah.
with black people? Right? And our like what breaks his heart? That's what I want to know. Because what's
Yeah.
interesting, and going back to
Well,
Shawn's point, it is I think it was Shawn's point, it was somebody's point. It is actually Rocket, right? Raquel, who influences. Now she broke in his house, right? I'm
Yeah,
gonna break
straight
in your
up.
house,
Right.
but then I'm gonna be your conscience, right? I'm like, wait, what? She broke in his house and then became his conscience, right?
right.
So
Exactly.
you know, she has this there's this moment, and I love this about the book too, that they go back and forth with each other, like teaching each other. There's this really interesting relationship that, now that you know, it kind of reminds me of this documentary, this interview that I saw between Nikki Giovanni and James Baldwin. Nikki, this is a much younger Nikki. She's a young woman in her 20s, and Baldwin is I don't know, he might be in his 40s at this time. They're having this conversation not just between sex and gender, right, but also across age. And you see that in a particular way. You see that between Rocket and Icon. And even when I read the book in my mid-20s, like my early 20s, I'm back and forth, like reading between these two characters. Man, y'all got me amped. Y'all taking me back to like half my lifetime, for real, right? And thinking about, I need to read this again, man. I need to read all these books
Yeah,
again.
I definitely
Yeah.
do.
And you know what? You know, that is such an interesting point. It's just like, you know, he went through so much. Like he lost his wife to cancer. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like there were so many different things that he had went through that kind of made him lose his faith in humanity. So I remember when I feel like I read more of the Icon stuff than I did even Static stuff, to be honest. So at a certain point, this dude is like he's waiting for Earth's technology to catch up to his, so he can fix his ship to go back home.
Exactly.
That's right. That's right.
He
That's
wants
right.
to leave. He wants
Yeah.
to leave.
Mm,
He don't believe in humanity like that no more. And
that's a real good point.
and then it's up to Rocket to really, even though with some of her flaws and just growing up and her having a kid, you know, her being a single
Yeah.
mother and blah blah blah. You know what I'm saying?
As a
Like it's up to her
teenager.
to be
Yep.
conscious to him and ground him and let him know, hey, there's a responsibility. There's a reason why you're here. And even at a certain point, she takes up the mantle to be Icon as well. Once he leaves to go visit Plan, and he realizes this isn't as what I thought it was going to be. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? And so he ends up coming back. And so I feel like that story right there would like make so many ways. Like if it was like brought to life and like on a big scale. Like,
Yeah.
there's a lot of intricacies there, man. For
I
real.
just want to say,
Yeah.
like, just go over like three moments that I picked out that I thought were very important to the character, and then we'll probably move on to hardware after that. But like,
Yeah.
so what I chose again, what you briefly referenced is, you know, issue 4 Icon, where it focuses on Raquel finding out that she's pregnant, which is like, I own this issue because I only own that issue 1 and then 4 because look, it's such a sentimental, monumental history just in comics in general, because I've never seen like a comic focusing on teenage pregnancy in my life. So like that was very important to me. 2 as well is you know, when he first encountered Superman, and I don't remember where I heard this from. I think it was one of the recent like docs that Sci-Fi did on Milestone, where they contrast, you know, the upbringing between Icon and Superman, where like as in like Clark grew up in Kansas throughout privilege and didn't decide to use his powers until, you know, when he thought it was the right time to use his abilities, while Icon grew up in the South during slavery and was using his powers for survival the entire time. So that I thought was very interesting, and when they actually came together, I thought was dope. And then lastly, this was for fun. But when they
Shouts
introduced
out
Buck
to Buck
Wild,
Wild. Shouts out to Buck Wild.
Buck Wild is the funniest character I've ever seen. Like, shout out to my boy Billy, because I told him because I talked to him about Milestone sometimes because he didn't really know when we met. But I'd be like, "Yo, you ever heard of this character named Buck Wild?" And he's like, "Yo, like, he's basically like this a parody of Luke Cage, and he's just dumb and he's just stupid, and and always says it's always Christmas, which is what we used to say for a while. Like, that was so funny. Man, but he also became Icon when Icon left, which I thought was so funny. But yeah, shout out to Buck Wild.
That's right. Yeah.
So,
yeah, I'm sorry. I'm imagining you're about to segue, and I got to get off. As you know, this is Juneteenth week. Everybody and their mother is having a Juneteenth celebration, and I got to get to another. Discussion. But listen, it's good to see you all. I'm glad I was able to make it today. Good hanging out with y'all. Yo, congrats on all your successes, and this has been a dope conversation. I don't even want to leave.
I need to hear this. I need to hear this origin story between you and Dave.
You know what? Okay, real quick, David, you want to drop that story? Oh my God!
You can't just tease us like that.
Okay. So wait, this is my perspective, right? So I was just basically we have a mutual friend, Ronaldo Anderson, and he's one of the co-founders of the Black Speculative Arts Movement, which is like Afrofuturism 2.0 and all things Afrofuturist. And so I basically had a screening for Static here in St. Louis that ended up, it was the first one. It was about 500 people who showed up. Line like wrapped around the fucking theater building, right? And Ronaldo, I did not know this guy. Ronaldo happened to be there, ended up giving me his card at the end of the screening and was like, "Look, I'm going to Europe. It'd be great to like show your film there, blah, blah." I didn't believe this dude for anything. I was like, people tell you stuff as artists all the time. They're like, give you a card, like, I want to show your, like. So this dude ended up finding me on Facebook, said, "Get your passport. I'm serious. Let's go." Bro, within a week, I was getting ready to head to Europe for this Afrofuturist conference in which Stacey was going to be there also. Now, we ended up being on the same plane once we got to, there was a mutual plane we were supposed to get on that's going to take us from Chicago to London, and then from London to Berlin. And so we ended up sitting on the same exact row, this huge ass plane. There was like a seat or two in between us, did not talk the entire time. Now, from my perspective, I didn't even know who he was. I mean, you just don't know who people are, and I'm kind of reserved a little bit, kind of laid back or whatever. So, Stacey had his headphones on, blah blah blah. He's listening, he's going in on this. I'm like, this dude is really feeling this shit. So I'm like, all right, cool. And so we ended up getting off in Berlin, Germany. I don't think I saw him for a little minute. I don't know if we were staying in the same hotel or not, but I don't remember seeing him for a little minute. But we ended up seeing each other. I know specifically once we had the screen for Static that night or whatever. And it was just like, dude, that is crazy. I remember Stacey was like, I'm not sure if you were crying or on the verge of crying. And
wait, hold on now. Hold
up. You were telling me that you was real, that you were telling me you were the first person I had met who had a direct connection to Milestone. And so that made me feel like it was all worth it, because you said that it was worth it for, what I'm saying? Like, that's kind of my perspective though.
Yeah.
So I don't know.
No, hey, yours was better. Yours was better than mine. So here's the thing. We didn't actually connect. So David and I were seated in the same row, but not really until we departed from London. Right. The whole flight, I have the entire row to myself. And I'm thinking I'm going all the way to Europe, single row. I'm stretched out. I'm good. I'm chilling. Right. David gets on, and I'm blazing hot because I'm like, this dude better not sit next to me. He sure enough sits in the same row. So now, and admittedly, I'm humbled, nowadays, because I was arrogant. I was blazing hot at the time, right? and should have put, and it ain't like it's a whole lot of black people flying to Berlin. I should have definitely put that together. And we were probably, and here's the thing. I wish I had spoken, but now we have this really awesome story. But the thing, and I think I want to depart with this, is the reason why I had to tell David, and what I told him was, I was like, Dwayne would be very proud of you.
Mm.
Wow.
Because the thing about Milestone, like we're Milestone is back finally, right. Like there's a new generation of Milestone lovers. But when I was there, the mentorship that I constantly got from, and I spent my time with Derek Dingle. Shouts out to Derek Dingle and
Right.
Dwayne McDuffie. Those are the two I spent most of my time with. Shouts out to Joe Illage as well, and the amazing other staff members. I'm just not going to go through a name, but the thing that we really got, like really drilled into us, was to make our own stories, make our
Mm.
own, like, to not to rely on the mainstream, but to actually pioneer our own ways, right? When I saw what David had done, David did not grow up on the Milestone books, right? I was there, right? He's part of my son's generation. Like, my son grew up on Static Shock, right? To see what David had done, it did bring tears to my eyes. It did touch my heart, because when Dwayne passed away, I believe it was in 2011.
2011, yeah.
I ran to my room and I threw my face in the pillow and cried like a baby. Like, I cried like that stereotypical little girl who broke up. My legs were kicking. Like I'm crying in the pillow like that when Dwayne passed. Like, he was a major mentor in my life. And to see what David had done with the legacy of Milestone, I was like, this is what they taught us to do. And David was living it. Like, David is showing
That's
all of
beautiful.
us.
Wow,
that's amazing.
Yeah, yo, my gangster is wearing off right now. I'm so gangster. You know what I mean, right? Right.
Hey, yo,
this
so you
story
know
was
what's crazy, Stacey? Before you get on, I want to say, so you're gonna have to come to the hardware premiere next month, and I'm gonna message you too on Instagram
Please do.
about it.
Please
Because
do.
I'm flying in Joe Illich for it, and a couple more people from Milestone co-founders and whatnot.
Wow.
So
That's what's
it's
up.
gonna be it's gonna
Wow.
be crazy. It's gonna be a great
Please.
reunion for everybody.
Yeah, and this is gonna be in New York or
No, it's gonna be here in St. Louis.
St. Louis. All right.
Will it be in New York?
Yeah, the St. Louis club. It's gonna be like the Skyrise in Clayton. It's gonna be beautiful. It's invite only. So the mayor of St. Louis, Tashara Jones, a new one. She's gonna be there.
snap.
Sam Page, a whole bunch of people. I'm not gonna name them.
That's what's
There's
up.
gonna be quite a few people gonna be there.
All right.
Because
what's
I
up.
really we want to highlight what you guys are doing with this podcast. Is what I'm trying to do with film, and so
Gotcha. Of course.
with, bringing awareness to Milestone and just showing mad love and appreciation for it. Yeah.
Of course. But
Yeah.
Stacey, I understand you have to go. I wish you could stay longer. I mean, obviously,
I do
have
too.
fun. But we understand, man. But I appreciate it. We'll probably do another one, maybe about like reviewing the new books. Maybe I had that idea in my head just now.
Okay.
But yeah, all right, Stacey, we appreciate it.
All right, peace, y'all. Have a good one.
Yeah,
Yeah,
All right,
David,
brother, be
definitely.
good, man.
All right, peace,
All right.
y'all.
All right.
So-
I'll stay through hardware because I really
Word.
want to talk about this.
Word. I guess
So-
it's gonna be me and Shawn
Yeah.
for the rest.
said
But yeah,
what?
word. Yeah. So
Anyway, so what's funny is during this conversation, how do I get that back? Come on back, baby.
you got it.
Yeah. All right, wait. All right, so wait, I'm gonna pull this up. Front camera. Oh, I get to choose the front camera. All right, back camera. There we go. All right, so can I see that at all?
We do not. Wait, hold on. Yeah, okay, here we go. There we go. We see it.
So you can see the back camera, right? Okay,
Yeah.
This is what I was working on. I'll just show you a little bit of it. I'll just show you. Very,
I'll put it.
little.
I'll put it in solo layout right now, just real quick, so we can see. That's sick.
All right.
Okay.
Wait. I don't know. You're not gonna be able to hear much of anything, but
It's fine.
but look, it's playing.
Little sneak preview. Okay.
Yeah. So we got a little bit of stuff going on here.
Gotcha. Yeah, I saw this. I saw you do the VFX breakdown on YouTube. Yeah.
Yeah. So hardware suit is completely digital here, at least.
Yeah.
Which has been like super challenging at our level but we're getting a physical suit made so we can actually finish the movie. So we're gonna
Exactly.
spend thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars. So we have reshoots this weekend. We're actually doing.
Gotcha.
Yo, Dave,
Yeah,
I
so
want to
that's
send you. I've been doing this. I paused for a second, but I was doing this blog, I guess you would say, called New Perspective. I want to send that to you. I
okay.
did a redesign of hardware. I want to show you.
Oh, bet, bro. Please.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
we're getting a physical. Hey, where y'all based at?
I'm in Shawn's in Philly. I'm in the Poconos, Northeast PA. So like I'm
What?
like
What is that?
it's like close. It's like really close to the Jersey border. I'm like right at like the
Oh,
like
okay.
you
Gotcha.
can't go through New York. You can't go to New York without passing my town, East Stroudsburg. So um all
Gotcha.
right, so we'll just use this to segue to hardware though. But yeah, hardware
Yeah.
again 90 again also released 93 was featuring the character of Curtis McCaff, who was a prodigy and was found by
Right.
Edwin Alva, who was the owner of Alva Industries.
Right.
And then grew through the company to find out as an adult that Alvo was using his work for wrongdoing. So he decides to make and create the persona of hardware to stick it to the man and take down the company from the inside. So yeah,
Right.
so thanks David for showing that little sneak peek of the film. That's one of my most excited films you're doing because I love what you're
Yeah.
doing.
It's the best one we like by leaps and bounds. It's like the best one. Like not
For
even
And you
sure.
know
close.
what? David
Leaps
is the
and
perfect
bounds.
example. David is the perfect example of what people always say. Like, just do it, just put it out because your first one doesn't have to
Yeah.
be your magnum opus, right? You put something out, and
Right.
the next one is going to be better. The next one is going to be better. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah.
Facts.
I mean, like if you like Static, Static was really good. It had a lot of tone to it. Icon was good, but this is like I can honestly say like hardware is like fucking great. It's like fucking great. It's the one like it's just the story is like perfect, and I'm sure you're gonna talk a little bit about I think we stuck closer to the comments on this than anything.
I'm excited.
So
I'm excited
yeah,
for it. But
Yeah, I'm hyped.
yeah,
yeah, but basically I'm thinking like it was written by Dwayne McDuffie and then drawn by the legendary, who's one of my favorite artists of all time, Dennis Cowan.
yeah,
Yeah, but dude, hardware is so dope. I mean, like, cause like, I mean, people compare him to Iron Man a lot, but like, I think he's better than Iron Man. Cause
yeah,
again,
way
this
better.
was more based on Dwayne's personal experience at the University of Michigan. Cause he was doing, I think he was like designing like rocket systems. I think he was like I think he was a STEM, it's somewhere in STEM, but like high up. So, but
Yeah, right.
for undergrad, and he found out that they were using his work to design rocket systems for NASA without his permission. So it's a very
Wow.
relatable story.
No, that's crazy.
And it's just like,
Yeah,
yeah,
I
it's
mean
just
his thing is like too. I didn't mean to cut you off, but I just
no problem.
like this shit is so exciting, bro. It's like this dude wants a seat at the table. You know what I'm saying?
Exactly.
Like he wants to be on the receiving end of all of this, and receive the rewards from the fruit of his labor that he helped build this billion-dollar company out of his own genius, really his own genius. And Edwin Allen was putting him back in his place, saying like, "You are the cog in a fucking machine, boy. Stay in your place." You know what I'm
Exactly.
saying? Like, hey, it's like, damn. But at the same time, what he ends up doing is he ends up getting a little bit more strategic about it. He didn't throw his hands up in the air and said he quit. He didn't say none of that. What he did, like you said, Mikey, was he built that suit and through his findings, finding out that they help produce, the Q juice and shit for the
Yeah.
Big Bang and blah blah blah. You know, it's an incredible story, and I think so many. I feel like young adults getting into the corporate world, like kind of like how
Yeah.
like in college and like we're making that transition, getting into that space. It's like a
Exactly.
step up from Static. Like Static is fucking incredible, right? Like, that's cool, that's fun. But now this is like a lot more adult, right?
Exactly.
Like this is like we
Mm.
can all relate. We can all relate for working for the man and asking for a fucking pay raise.
Exactly.
You know
It's
what I'm
kind of
saying? And being, go
it's
ahead.
kind of funny you say that transition because like I was reading Static like while I was on like my senior year of high school, and then so that basically like, was again focusing on the fun of like being a teenager and all that and those conflicts. But then when I came to college, I started reading Hardware because now that I graduated high school, now this is like I'm reading more adult books now and with the more adult perspective of what you're talking about. So yeah, for sure, I can that's a great point to make.
Hardware for me. Once again, I'm a big street level guy, right? I love the vigilante type people. And Hardware was that bridge to me, the sci-fi with that grittiness. You know what I mean? Here this man is with this armor, but he got a freaking meat hook or something. Like you know what I mean? Like he was about it. I mean, but also I had a little conflict because I felt like Hardware. There were times that he should have been elevated a little bit more because when I was doing the blog for New Perspective, which I take Nubian characters that are underutilized, ignored, just reduced to stereotypes, and I try to add a new, fresh coat of paint to it. Right, not a complete dismissal of their continuity, but using their continuity. Like if these companies gave me these characters right now, right, what would I do with them now? And but keeping their history. So I was researching Hardware. His armor is crazy. His armor is phenomenal. The stuff it could do. It is ridiculous.
I'm gonna move on to the next slide real quick because as one of my moments, the fact that he was one of the first characters to do like a nanotech suit before Iron Man even did it.
Come on.
Yeah.
What?
Yeah.
He was doing it. But I feel like, this is my only critique. Like I said, I'm one of those people like, I talk honestly. I feel like they could have shown that a little bit more. There was sometimes like even on the cover, you know what I mean? He's got like the flashlight taped to his chest or something. I feel like, they made some mistakes with that, but the concept is bananas. The concept is sick. The armor itself, you know what I mean? These characters are prime for a slight dusting off, and they can do real serious numbers if they're given the respect that they deserve.
Exactly. And I was saying this real quick, like just talking about my moments here when he teamed up with S.H.I.E.L.D. and S.H.I.E.L.D. also one of my favorite comic book characters ever. I thought that was so sick. And just like, having, basically like looking a shout out to Louise Simonson, who I got a chance to talk to, I think months ago for an interview. But I told her referencing, you basically created S.H.I.E.L.D. before like Hardware even dropped. Like, it was like that same year, but like a couple months before Hardware even dropped. But like she praised the fact like with Milestone, how important those characters were, and she's glad that she made her own contribution with S.H.I.E.L.D., which I thought was great. And also again, just talk about like Hardware. I put in the PowerPoint like those two covers, with like the left being the number 1. I think this is number like 14. But yeah, like I didn't really like the original Hardware suit, but then when he did V2, I was like, bro, this is tough. This is the toughest arm I've ever seen.
But you know what's crazy? That art though is still ridiculous to this day. Like I look back at some of this artwork, I'm like, yo, there was drawing like this back in '93.
Like look at the page on the right. This shit where he's just making like all these beams and then like the guns, bro. Get out of here.
Yeah, this art, that art was phenomenal. Mikey, going back real quick to Static, like you said, rest in peace, Jean-Paul Leon. Like his look back and stuff, that is a study in sequential storytelling. You know what I mean? Like anybody who's a fan of artwork should go back and read Hardware. Just look at these pages, man.
Dennis killed these pages. I've never seen like it's the best kind of work I've ever seen.
It's incredible.
Actually, I'm actually curious, David, are you gonna? I know because this is like the origin of Hardware and like your Dakota universe, but are you gonna maybe incorporate the whole nanotech stuff in the film, or is this gonna be like you probably explore later on?
Oh no, this is like, well, Hardware is the last one I'm doing for Milestone, and so I mean you just really see his origin story really. So it's like the phase 1 of his suit. You don't really get to see like all the extra stuff that that he does. But I mean, that's more so due to budget reasons and all
Of
that.
course, yeah.
But I mean, like you
Yeah.
see him do some cool. I mean, the coolest shit that we've ever, you know what I'm saying, that we've ever done. Like a whole bunch
Yeah.
of flying and shit in here, and it's gonna be crazy. It's gonna be crazy.
You know what? I can tell it's gonna be crazy because David sounds giddy as hell. He sounds
No.
excited. You know what I mean?
Like
Yeah.
real
Oh,
shit.
no, I'm excited. I can't wait for y'all to see it. It's
Yeah, like real shit. This is like, I love your static. I like what you did, and I'm excited for 2 because it's more milestone-y, like with his look in 2, and I'm excited for that. Icon, I also love, but like hardware, I don't know why, but he's like, I'm very excited for hardware, like for real. So
hardware has just a different energy around it, you know. And I'm not sure if we're gonna release Static 2 in its totality because there's so many visual effects. I think I might just do one massive ass concept trailer for it, just leave it at like that. But hardware, bro, is gonna. I think you guys are gonna love this. Like I said, if you love the comic, like the origin story in the comics, we still pretty close to that. To that here. So the only thing that's really drastically different is just like the look of his suit. The functionality is still there. What he can do is still there. If I ever decide to do more, you know, we'll build on top of that with like some more money and shit. But you know, it's gonna be mad cool. Yeah,
for sure. But hardware.
One of my favorite moments from hardware. Do y'all remember Technique?
Of course, I forgot to put it in.
Yeah.
But shout out to Technique. I love Technique.
Shout out there. Yeah, love Technique.
Once again, I'm a big hip hop fan, and a big nerd. The two of them just converge. So that whole line about don't sweat the technique, and that's the type of shit that give me goosebumps. When you cross over hip hop into comic books, you got me. I'm sold.
Yeah.
Bro, I mean, Technique is dope, and also shout out to you, Shawn, because that technique you drew was sick, and I always, dude, it was David. I'm telling you, look up Shawn's stuff. I'll send you the.
Add me on Instagram, bro. I'll follow you back.
No, it's tough, but yeah. So any other thoughts before we move on? I know, David, you have to go.
Yeah, I do. I got a meeting at 6, and I'm gonna get ready. I can't look like this.
Yeah, of course. Before you go though, I was gonna say this later on because I thought we'd have more time to talk about everything. But so obviously, like, you know, the Static movie's coming out, right? Me and Shawn were saying we think you're doing it, and we know you signed an NDA, so you can't say anything. But like, blink twice for yes and blink once for no. I'll put you on the solo layout real quick first, just so we can know you working on that. You can just blink twice for yes and once for no, bro. So
I'm gonna just smile real big, bro.
I'm ready.
Leave everybody in suspense.
Of course, yeah. Well, you'll see us sooner or later. But yeah, sorry. Before you go, just like let everyone know where we can find you. You
know. For me, David Kirkman Films on Instagram, David Kirkman on Twitter, just everywhere. And then just Woke Nation Studios on YouTube, and all our stuff is on there. I mean, we even did like a little spin-off short film for like Noble. I just like working with I love working with the actors so much. I had a new camera.
Listen, Noble is also one of my favorite things you've ever done. I love Noble a lot. So
is that based on the comic book?
No, it's. Oh, sorry. You can explain. Sorry, go ahead.
It's based on the comic book character, but you know, he doesn't have like a comic. He doesn't have like a comic book himself.
It's not Noble like the Lion Forge character. It's Noble who is.
No, not that.
Yeah, it's Raquel's boyfriend, like her boyfriend that gets her pregnant. The house. Yeah. The Icon's house. He did a really amazing like this short film on like, you know, explore dissecting the character and just also like the social commentary, just, you know, as a black kid. Yeah, I thought it was amazing. So
that's different. Yeah, I like that.
If you like the aesthetic of that and just like the feel of that, it's like that's what hardware is gonna be, but like times 10.
Oh gosh, man.
So yeah, it's gonna be fucking amazing.
I feel like Dave's gonna be this is gonna be his movie to show off.
Bro, I mean, just imagine like for Static and Icon. Well, Icon was really bloated. I had like 30 people working on set, but I kind of like lost control of. I felt like I was kind of losing a little bit of my sensibility because there's so many people doing shit. And then that's when I made Noble with just my best friend Duncan. It was just me and him behind the scenes. I shot the whole thing, and you know we both directed it or whatever.
Yeah.
And you could really feel it was like, oh, that feels like a fucking, that's a whole, that feels like closer to like the original when Static first came out a little bit. It feels a little closer to that. And then for hardware, there's only like 5 people working behind the scenes for crew. So I'm filming it. It was like this really energetic, really free flow, kind of thing. It was incredible, bro. So you guys are gonna love it. I promise you. It's not gonna let you down.
That's what's up, man.
Sure.
I promise you.
All right, David.
All right.
Well,
All right.
we
I
gotta
appreciate
continue.
y'all. Thank y'all
It's
so
no
much
problem.
for having
Listen,
me on. And
if you're ever doing like a premiere in Philly or New York, let us. I will drive.
For
I will.
sure.
It's only an hour and a half away. I will drive.
Yeah.
gotta
Well,
do it.
we're thinking about doing something in Hartford, Connecticut, which is where Yale is, or around like the Yale area.
Mhm.
So we're thinking about having a screen for hardware there sometime in August before we release the film in September. We're going to release the film the same day Shang-Chi comes out because fuck Shang-Chi. Not fuck Shang-Chi, like fuck Marvel. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Oh, he's disrespectful.
That's funny.
No, but I think like it's not that hype.
All right, man. We
All right.
appreciate you having here, man. We'll let you go, but me and
All right,
Shawn will
peace,
take
y'all.
the rest. All right, peace.
Peace, bro. Be safe.
All right, Shawn, just me and you, I guess. But yeah, we're
You
gonna.
know it, man. To the hard way.
It's funny because next up is we've talked about this many times before. Our favorite team of all time,
Come on.
being the Blood Syndicate, fam. Oh gosh,
You know it. Look at that cover.
Oh,
Look at that cover, bro.
The cover's hard. The cover is tough. It's tough. And then, again, like I got the to piss you off one more time. I got the first book as well as hardware. I didn't pull up hardware as well, but I got hardware as well. But yeah, so again, history lesson. What I think Shawn mentioned it earlier on, but the Big Bang again being the catalyst of the whole Milestone metahuman universe. Again, showcasing the people besides Static that also got powers that were part of 2 gangs. I think it was the Paris Bloods and I think like the something Syndicate. I don't remember, but they decided to combine forces. So this is not a superhero team. This is a straight up gang. Like of people, one of the most diverse comics I've ever seen, having people of various, races, genders, sexual orientations, and just focusing on the idea, hey, we're a gang and we're gonna even though we want to try to do good, we're gonna be ostracized by everyone anyway, but might as well just do it, which I thought was a great concept. So yeah, Shawn, I'll open it to you.
Yeah, definitely one of the most unique concepts out there. And one of the bravest, you know what I mean? Like this to me takes me back to the days when comic books you didn't care, not in a dismissive way, but like we're gonna put something out there and we're not going to be afraid of public opinion. We're not going to be, we're not going to try to censor ourselves. We just going to go hard, do what we want to do, and people gonna fuck with it or they're not gonna fuck with it. You know what I mean? Now everything has to be on this what do they call it? Marketing type of poll and like what do you call it when you do the whole thing where they gotta like people gotta test it? You know what I mean? Like
it's not coming to me right now.
Yeah, but you know what I mean? You know what I mean? Like everything's gotta be pre-approved and da. Like they're even talking about bringing back Blood Syndicate, but they're like, oh, we may not be able to bring back the way it originally was.
You know what's funny? Because like, well, maybe I don't know if I should say this now or for later, but like I remember Dennis Cowan talking about it. Like every time they bring up Blood Syndicate in the DC offices, and they're just like, oof, So
but for people who want to try something that's gritty, that's unafraid, Blood Syndicate is it for me. And the dynamic between, like, I'm a big fan of team books just because I love reading interactions. I love seeing how other characters play off each other. They were straight up fighting every issue.
They never got along. It was funny,
It was hilarious, bro. Like, you know what I mean? They was going at it internally because, like you said, Mikey, 2 separate gangs trying to come together, and just their nature. Anyway, you had Holocaust, who was the leader. He was just vicious.
Holocaust hated everyone so much he didn't even last for 2 issues. He left after like the 2nd issue.
Yes. That's what I mean. Like it was like he's on the cover front and center after 2 issues. He's like, yo, I'm out. Fuck this.
Word.
You know,
Like,
like that's hilarious to me. The
I would,
boy's son. Go ahead,
yeah,
Mikey.
I would say and that's I didn't really have like a moments thing because I just like want to talk about the characters. But yeah, like Holocaust, as you mentioned right here, is dope and is a cool character and like a great like static villain that I thought was really dope. Wise Son
Oh, yeah,
again,
he is.
you're talking about him being a Muslim
Right.
character that which I didn't really know and so I kind of forgot about until we talked about it recently. Yeah, but that was very interesting. My favorite
But even
character.
with White Son, I loved the exploration of his character, how he was this
Yeah,
Muslim guy, but he was a dick. Like
he was.
he was a whole ass in there, man, and always causing problems. There was conflict, I think, because like he used to curse a lot or whatever, but I think they made mention of it in the comic book. Like there was like, yo, how could you be Muslim and doing this? These were
Exactly.
real conversations. These, you know what I mean? Like
he was the he was the unorthodox Muslim character because I'll obviously like with the Muslim religion, like you can either be like very strict with it, like most you have two sides. Either you don't really like you loosen up a little bit with your religion, or you're very strict. So like you pray 4 times a day, you
right.
you read the Quran, you go to the mosque like every single day.
Yeah.
So like with him again, being the non-truth, he cursed. He was, he was basically an asshole. And the fact that talk about the other character, Brickhouse, who was his girlfriend, again right here, who was basically like the thing and was, focusing on, the idea of, women that don't fit the typical, the standards of beauty in society.
Right.
So I thought that was, and plus, and also she was not Muslim. I mean, she wasn't Muslim at all. She was a Puerto Rican woman, which I think, again, showcasing that
so
unorthodox.
Different. Yeah, and you know what? And in this day and age, if they were to create Brit House, a character called Brit House, right off the name, you know what I mean? Brit House, referring back to the old slang from like the music, the groovy disco days, and the funk era of a woman being a brick house and being like this real thick, voluptuous woman, but they made her like actual brick and like you said, a female version of the thing, so that ugly kind of the features and stuff like that. Nowadays, they probably would be like, oh, she's a brick house, and keep it on that whole like, oh, beautiful, voluptuous, strong woman type of thing. They weren't afraid to make, and when I say ugly characters, not just physically, but like internally, you know what I mean? Like rough characters that weren't the typical stereotypical pretty boy, pretty girl type characters that you see now.
Exactly. And like, and her relationship with Wise Son was so great. It was very like just real love because, even though she doesn't look the way a woman normally looks, he is, a Muslim character and they're both different races. They didn't care. They just simply loved each other. And I thought that was just wonderful. And and then just to talk real quick, just my 2 favorite characters in Blood Syndicate. So Boogeyman is hilarious, and I love Boogeyman, the rat Hulk, basically. I thought he was so fun.
Yo, did they ever clear? Was he a rat that got powers or a guy
he's a
turned into a rat?
He's a human person, and he can change into a rat. Like he can change into like this massive, like muscular rat who could also have the power to like he had super strength and like all that stuff. But like he also could like control rats. It was awesome. Yeah. Like I remember because I have my friend Matt who does shout out to Matt who does Invincible with me. He has a phobia of rats. So like I remember showing him a picture of Boogeyman and he was petrified. And I was like, it was. But like Boogeyman was a great character, and also my boy who got the short end of the stick, Tech 9, the most 90s character ever. Because for our audience who doesn't know Tech 9, his power was that like his power was just guns. Like that's all he did. Like
he could create different guns.
He can create guns. He can hold as many guns as he wanted and not get like encumbered or slowed down. He could like, but his main thing was that he could shoot any gun and would never run out of bullets. And it was just like it was so 90s. It's like my favorite moment I mentioned before in when I talked to you was that like when second issue, because I have this issue, is when he wipes the floor with Holocaust and Holocaust leaves because of that.
Right.
You know.
Yeah. I think they fought for like.
Oh, sorry, I remember that was a mistake. Yo, continue.
I was saying like I think they fought for like leadership of the gang or something.
Yeah, they did. They wanted to be like, oh, like they had an argument about who the leader was, and he just, you thought Holocaust was about to kill him, but no, he kind of wiped the floor on him. So yeah, Tech Nine.
Because the thing, if I remember correctly, Tech Nine was also very strategic. He was extremely smart. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So that was another thing about these gang members too. Like they weren't just like what you may think of stereotypical gang members, like just straight up violence, dumb or whatever. Like they were well-rounded humans. They were smart. Tech Nine was very strategic. You know what I mean? Which I think is also part of his whole aesthetic, like his whole thing, where it's like he was a gun guy, yes, but he was more military with it. He was more like, it put me in the sense of like Public Enemy S1Ws, like he was a very strategic military person.
Exactly. And just real quick to just go through all the other characters that were like, so Fade, which we mentioned, was the Puerto Rican gay character on the team. His sister Flashback, who I thought was amazing, who could travel like 15 seconds back in time, and has like basically like saved the team on multiple, like has watched the team die multiple times and developed PTSD and had to like deal with that with a crack addiction, which like again, if you're dealing with real ass topics with drug addiction,
right?
Masquerade.
They would be scared to touch that nowadays, yo.
Exactly. Like it's just again revolutionary. And then Masquerade, again, the first trans character in comics ever. And you didn't know she was trans. You didn't know that he was trans until I forget which issue, but because Masquerade was a male for like how many issues of the book, and then he gets knocked out one day and shapes his back into a woman, and you're just like, wait, what? So like first trans character. And then, shout out to like Third Rail, who was a Korean American, Kawhi, who was also an Asian American character. They're dope characters, man. So like the whole team.
Yeah. Oh wait, don't forget DMZ.
DMZ. Okay, because like because I remember like he tied in with Icon for a little bit, and I forgot what his like origin was, but like they it was revealed that like he was a race of people. He was an alien race that all looked like him, and I was like, that's interesting. So yeah,
what? I forgot. I don't know DMZ's origin, but I remember when I was coming up reading Blood Syndicate, I didn't know what DMZ meant.
Yeah,
I was like, what is this? I was like, how you pronounce this? Demise or something? Like the mud? I was like, what is this? But it's only, like later on knowing like, DMZ, the demilitarized zone. But I was always a fan of like the silent, mysterious characters.
Of course, like the Snake Eyes type.
Yeah. So I had always loved his vibe, his look, but I didn't know too much about him. I gotta go and look him up again.
Yeah, but Blood Syndicate, man, I really want this to come back, man. It has to. Like it has to at some point. But yeah, man.
And I don't want them to kidify it. I don't want them to give us the easy road, man. Make it, you know what I mean? Make it controversial, make it gritty. We need that. We need that in comic books. We need that in material. Like not everything is going to be all daisies and butterflies and puppies. You know what I mean? Like we need more grit. We need people to be uncomfortable again so that we can have real conversations, heartfelt stories, you know what I mean? Like edgy shit. Yeah, man, that's my take on it.
But yeah, so we're gonna move on to like any of the other notable characters. Do you have any other notable characters that you have in mind? I have my slideshow I got. So like the Heroes book. I don't know if you ever read. Have you ever read Heroes or heard of them?
I didn't.
Yeah, this came out in '96. This is like I kind of like this team. I mean, I kind of get like, I don't know which one I like more, Bloodskin or Heroes, but yeah, they were called just Heroes. The team was composed of Static, Donner and Blitzen, who were a gay couple. Donner was like basically had super strength and was invulnerable, and was more of the showcasing the more like masculine lesbian figure, while Blitzen was Asian. And was a speedster, and there were a couple,
an interracial couple too.
An interracial, yeah, they're my interracial for 100%. And it's funny because like Donner was also a former neo-Nazi as well. So
Really?
yeah, so it was really dope. It was really dope. One of my favorite couples in comics is Donner and Blitzen, for sure, just because it was just next level in terms of diversity and what they represented. So yeah, Static. I said again, Iota, who was kind of like Hank Pym, and
Right.
could like basically had like shrinking powers and like could shrink objects and like grow objects, and had like a pink aesthetic. So she was cool. As well as Starlight, who was basically like Monica Rambeau or like Spectrum.
I'm just going to travel a
Nah,
quick
fair.
second
You're
so I
all
could
good.
I gotta plug my phone and keep talking, Mikey.
Yeah, it's all good. And then lastly was Payback, who showed up in the Icon books. He was an Icon villain who became a hero and was a part of the Shadow Cabinet as well. So yeah, I also have the book for Hero. I have the whole series except for one issue of Heroes. Only lasted 8 issues. But yeah, Heroes was dope, as well as I got here Shadow Cabinet, which we mentioned. Shadow Cabinet. That's one of the books I haven't really read Shadow Cabinet, but I gotta get back. I gotta start reading it.
Shadow Cabinet is one of my favorite books of all time to this day.
Wow.
Way ahead of its time. Anybody that's a fan of Authority, this was pre-Authority. This was pre-Ultimates. They were doing things that set the foundation for stuff that's going on now. So basically, a team of different heroes brought together by this mysterious man called Dharma, and basically he would send them out on different missions. And he set it up where he was fixing the world. So, like I said, that Authority vibe where he's like that preemptive strike. I believe his part was that he could see the future. So he was like, "Yo, we're not going to wait around. We're not going to be reactive. We're going to go out here and we're going to make a change that we want to see." But then, not to give too much away, but he wasn't the completely altruistic character that he pretended to be. Stacey mentioned her earlier. Iron Butterfly. She had a metal armor. She was
a huge scar on her face too. Like it was badass.
Yeah, and I think she was a metal. She was what do you call it? Like a metal path. Like she could control metal.
It was. I think I forget the actual term for it, but yeah, she could control and like manipulate like metal, not like Magneto or like magnetic fields. Like actually manipulate the substance.
Yeah. I forget who else. Oh, there was a character that was in Shadow Cabinet. Menagerie, I believe was the name. It was a man that could change it to he could take on the properties of different animals. But I remember the character being so complex because he was more in tune with the animal kingdoms and animals than humans, and there was some great dialogue and stories as far as like his thought process. You know what I mean? Like he wasn't all there. You know what I mean? Just because he was more on the side of animals than humans. Great social commentary about the stuff that human beings are doing to the planet. Just amazing. So many incredible
characters. Like Twilight was a cool character that was in there. Like there was a bunch of cool characters. Also, I forgot
Twilight appeared in Justice League, right near the end.
I believe so. I don't remember. But like I forgot to mention this when we did Blood Syndicate. But Blood Syndicate was written, I think, by Ivan Velez Jr. and drawn by the legendary Chris Cross, one of my favorite artists, like ever after discovering Milestone. Shout out to Chris Cross, who unfortunately could not be here. He was planning to be here, but he's busy, making that bread, doing it, just grinding. So shout out to him. The reason why I love Chris Cross more, like his art, a lot is Blood Syndicate, obviously, but because he drew Heroes. He drew all 8 issues, I think all 7 issues of the series. And Shawn, I'll send you this book, like the link to this book, but like this is the best Chris Cross. This Chris Cross art is so good and it's colored so well. It's better than Blood Syndicate art. It's so much better than Blood Syndicate, like real talk. But shout out to Chris Cross there. But also I got a character Zombie, who was one of the first Korean American characters in comics, who was basically like Bloodshot. He had like nanobots in his system that can make him heal from anything. I never really read Zombie, but I might go back and start reading him.
I never really read Zombie either, to be honest. And not for any particular reason. Like I think it was just one of those cases where it reached a point where I was I was reading so many comments, and I maybe because of work or whatever, but I ended up like not being able to keep up with as many comments as I used to
Yeah,
be able to. So that was one of the ones that fell to the side. But I
yeah,
always did want to go back and reread it or read it and see, give it like a fair chance.
facts. I mean, yeah, facts. I gotta go back, but like zombie and why some had their own miniseries after Milestone ended, which we'll talk about like briefly. But yeah, other characters, because Milestone didn't just have just characters of color. They had a white character, so like Cobalt was another character that they had.
Mm-hmm.
Death
Mm-hmm.
Wish was another character that they had. I've
Mm-hmm.
never read either, but I just acknowledge that they exist. But yeah, but yeah, if I don't remember any, there are tons of characters that I can't name that I can't think of right now. But yeah, man, yeah. So that's basically it for like Milestone from 1993 to 97. So what's on? Do you have anything else to say before we move on to like breeze through these other chapters that we had to do, these topics? So no other characters that come to mind?
No other characters that come to mind right now.
All right. If any of
But
them pop up, we'll just mention them. But
yeah.
so now we'll talk about like this new chapter, the end of Milestone, which is
Mm.
again very important. So around, I forget what year, I think it might be 94. I don't know, Shawn, if you know this, but there was Milestone ending kind of happened like around a couple years before 97, where there was an issue of Static that was supposed to come out, Static number 25. I know this because I'm trying to get this book on eBay. Uh, and so what happened was Dwayne McDuffie wanted to explore the concept of teenagers, like just sex with
Yeah.
teens. So he decided to have this cover be made of Static 25, of Virgil and a classic Static character love interest, Daisy Watkins, having sex on the couch, that like just making out. It wasn't like too extreme. It was just some heavy some petting, just making out. That's it, right? And there was actually like a condom like on the cover. So I'll put up right here. Here's the if you can see, Shawn. There's and for our audience, here's the image of the Static number 25 cover. The original one's on the right, and then the redone one was on the left. So Paul Levitz, again, CEO of head of DC, who was basically the boss of Milestone, the boss of the company, but again, Milestone only had control of all the creative decisions, and then DC was just publishing. But Paul Levitz did not want this cover coming out because he thought it was too raunchy, too extreme. Even though it wasn't really that, it wasn't like it was porn on the cover. Dwayne McDuffie, shout out to him again. We can't praise him enough. Took such offense to this because he thought that, again, Paul didn't thought it was just, he thought it was just too much. Dwayne McDuffie took it in a way where I could believe, where he just was uncomfortable with the idea of Paul was uncomfortable with the idea of just exploring black sexuality in a comic book, especially on a cover. So basically, it caused him and Dwayne and Dennis Cowan were having conversations. Dennis Cowan said he was to take it off the cover, or just change the cover, no big deal. And then Dwayne was insisting, like, no, we have to have this on the cover. Like, we have to, again, what Shawn was saying, we have to make these people uncomfortable, like, because these stories need to be told. So what happened was Paul and Dwayne basically, Paul and Dennis were like, nah. Paul basically just wanted to do this. We're just going to put a heart over the cover. It's this ugly open heart over the two to have the rest of the cover not shown. And then, but Dwayne being the revolutionary that he was, put the cover, the original cover, on the book anyway, without the permission of Paul Levitz and DC Comics, and also continued in the back of the book, in the letter, the editorial letter they do at the end of books back in the day, or even now. He proceeded to comment on how much just talk shit on Paul Levitz about how much he didn't want to have, he was uncomfortable about the idea of black sexuality on the cover, and basically putting him out as like a racist. So that was the catalyst of Milestone ending a couple years later, 97. So yeah, Shawn, do you have any thoughts on this? I know I'm not sure you're aware of this or not, but
Yeah, because on the Xion show we actually did 2 episodes talking about Milestone. And in doing my research, I came upon this story, and once again, man, it's tragic. It just shows that for years, just what's been done to Nubian, and I've been saying the word Nubian, for throughout the episode. So when I say Nubian, I mean black. To Nubian creators and characters for years. You know what I mean? And it's a shame that this is still happening. That here it is. You would think that with some person with Dwayne McDuffie and all that he did, that there will be more trust, that they would have the just given more respect to be able to tell the stories that they want to tell, and to be shut down like that, to be censored like that. As an indie creator, I'm like, I hate it. You know what I mean?
yeah,
And
sure.
I can only imagine, how I felt, like how Dwayne and those guys felt in
Yeah.
those times, and it was ridiculous because they were telling stories that reflected real life, that that hit home, that needed to be told, and to be censored over something like that is ridiculous. And to me, the disrespect only continued, and I think that was the beginning of the end for Milestone, with
Yeah.
even why it took so long for them to come back. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
I don't think DC ever gave them a fair break. I'm excited for what's going on now, and that they do have this opportunity. But for a while, they continue to disrespect Milestone. Even with
Exactly.
the when they did what was the whole crossover they did with Milestone and DC?
Worlds collide.
Worlds collide. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? And then what? Nothing. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, they had opportunities to do stuff, but yeah, it's an injustice. But I'm glad that Dwayne, said what he said,
Yeah. He
and
stood
stood
his
up for
ground.
himself. Yeah.
Yeah. He stood. And then it was like, I wish Stacey was here to talk about this, because I mean, I'm curious if he was around when like Milestone was slowly dying away at that time. But like, again, like, people, because Paul Levitz took offense to this, as a white man does, and he just started like potentially delaying books, taking books off the shelves, to the point where, like, again, had they caused Dennis to leave, Derek to, like, a bunch of like people, staff leaving, and then the books just dragging, and then inevitably everyone, they had to close its doors in 97, because sales just weren't good, and just DC just cut the books. So
Yeah. And I think the other thing too was the misconception that these were books for Black people.
And just people of color in general.
Yeah, just for people of color. You know what I mean? Like, I think that was a misconception, that it was just for that. Whereas you don't see Avengers, you don't see Marvel saying, hey, Spider-Man is for white people. Avengers is for white people. It's like, yo, we make these characters and everybody can love them, right? And unfortunately, what happens is that within the Nubian community and for Nubian creators, when we create these characters and these stories, we instantly get that shadow cast upon us of, oh, this must be for Black people. This must just be for people of color, as opposed to people saying, oh, these are cool, interesting characters that happen to also be Nubian and POC characters. Let's enjoy them. Let's give them a chance.
Exactly.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. And it was characters, not just for, it was for everyone. They didn't have to do white characters, but they did them anyway, and they were great. Right. Like, so it was unfortunate. I wish Stacey was here to talk about it. Maybe we'll talk about it some other time. But yeah, just like having Milestone close his doors and then everyone just move on, I guess was a wound, not just left on the individual staff members and all the founders, but just like just the culture, having these books on, and having people like me, my generation, never hearing a Milestone ever after that, which was the comics, at least. So yeah, man, stats. The end of Milestone, which is sad, but I guess it's a segue to move on to the legacy of Milestone right after that. And again, I got another slide here, but everyone, we've talked about enough. A bunch again with the static, animated series coming out, you know, being one of the more successful things post, you know, Milestone Comics ending right here. So then, which we all know, love the Static Shock TV show with Phil Lamar and all those guys. And I know Dennis was a producer, Dwayne was a writer and producer, executive producer. So yeah, it was this, most of our, well, my childhood was just Static. But again, you know, after the, you know, but there were still remnants comic wise, you know, with the book. So like right here in the middle is a Milestone Forever, which came out. Let me look it up real quick. Where Milestone came out like 2000, I think. I'm gonna say 2008.
2000. That was it says 2010 DC released a limited series titled Milestone Forever.
Yeah, and basically like, you know, just celebrate. I think it was like kind of like individual. I read it. It was like individual stories of each, like, you know, Static, Hardware, Icon, the main four, Blood Syndicate, and, you know, officially having them transition into the DC universe proper. So yeah, so this was like, you know, this was after the show Static Shock ended, when Static was already in the DC AU at the time. So yeah, this was solidifying, you know, them, you know, it officially becoming like DC canon. And then after that, you had books where Static would team up with Black Lightning, and Hardware team up with Jaime Reyes, Blue Beetle, and all that other stuff. And over here on the right, where we have, you know, the Justice League of America Worlds Collide, When Worlds Collide, volume written by Dwayne McDuffie, as a nod to the Worlds Collide crossovers where Milestone was around, and, you know, having, you know, the Shadow Cabinet fight against the Justice League, which I thought was really cool. So yeah, so that's basically like the and that's, and thing is like, it's so and also there was a comic that I've been trying to collect for years but cannot find because it's so hard. The Static Shock Rebirth of the Cool miniseries that we dropped, that, you know, Dwayne and John Paul Leon drew, and this was like more John Paul's more modern style, and it was amazing. I read it. It's an amazing book, but I can't find it anywhere. Yeah,
I gotta look for that too.
Yes, Static Shock Rebirth of the Cool, and it was just like, it was a Static story, but it also introduced, you know, the Shadow Cabinet coming back proper, and Shadow Cabinet and like the Heroes team coming back, as well as Hardware like coming back, you know. And he was he was a paraplegic at that time. He was in a wheelchair at the end of the Milestone book. He was in a wheelchair. Hardware.
Who?
Hardware.
Oh, he was?
Yeah. So, and he made this like cool remote operated suit that he created, and it was dope. So yeah, Rebirth of the Cool was also a great thing as well. And also Milestone Forever had this backup that paid homage to Dwayne when he passed around that time, 2011. So it of Static, of Virgil and Rocket in costume, and her son, you know, welcoming him into the Milestone universe proper, you know, as a send off. Was amazing. But yeah, just more history. So after that, you know, blew my mind. Again, we also see Static in the Teen Titans comics, which was great. I forgot to mention that he was in Teen Titans comics, which I have an issue of. But like, you know, we see, you know, Static, Icon, and Rocket in the Young Justice TV show. And I got the photos for that here. Shout out to Sketchmaster Skills on Instagram, who drew who drew this the Young Justice version of Static. But yeah, that was amazing seeing not just Static, but at that time I was learning about the Milestone characters. So seeing Icon and Rocket on Young Justice, and then when season 3 came out, which is the most recent season, we see references of Hardware, and we see Holocaust in there as well. And I was like, yo, so another way of keeping these characters alive, I thought was great. So any thoughts on that, Shawn?
Well, the only thing for me was that I never liked the fact that they joined DC proper.
Yeah,
one of the things. Go ahead.
I didn't know at that time. I just thought they were DC characters, but then when I found out they were separate, I was like, yeah, I don't know. But yeah,
to me, it kind of undid the history that these characters had, and just it showcases to me the problems within DC's universes and stuff like that. And one of the things I do like about DC is that they do have this multiverse, you know what I mean, and let those characters be them and let them exist over there. I don't know if it was, I guess it was a marketing technique to try to, you know, give these characters more visibility and stuff like that. But I don't think it was necessary, because you did that and then you sidelined them anyway. You know what I mean? So it was like,
Exactly. Yeah,
what was the
fair
point?
enough.
It's like, to me, is all about good writing, good art, and that's it. You know what I mean? Like, just meet these characters, just keep these characters with their history, retcon some stuff, like, you know, if you need to retcon some stuff. But I don't need to see Icon next to Superman. You know what I mean? Like, he is his own character. Have them in their own universe and stuff like that. But you know, the thing is, the fanboy in me, it was cool to see them in some way, you know, at least in, you know, on the cartoons. And the Young Justice cartoon, one of my favorite animated styles.
Yeah.
One of my favorite series, period. And the
Yeah.
artwork, crazy. So that gave me the, you know, little feels in my chest. You know what I mean? That gave me some good feels.
And it was great because, like, the Icon had a pretty solid role in the Young Justice cartoon, and as well as, like, you know, Rocket showing up, and
exactly.
I thought it was Static, you know, Static having a big role in season 2, and also like, shows up in season 3. Yeah, I was.
And then there was the point they showed, like, I think it was Justice League. They had like the older Static.
Yeah,
like the gray locks and everything. So I was
just watching, because I was watching this show on HBO Max just to get like, you know, the vibes. But like, yeah, no, Future Shock is one of my favorite Static episodes when he meets his future self in the Batman Beyond universe. I was like,
oh yeah.
Cool. And then seeing him again when I was a kid, when I used to watch Justice League Unlimited, because that's my favorite Justice League cartoon ever. Seeing old man Static, I was like, dude, like, my boy Static right here. Let's go.
That was crazy. That was crazy. Yeah, I've had people tell me for years that they want to see me as Future Static. Like, if I ever cosplay.
Facts. You can do it. You can do it.
Don't ruin the moment, Mikey. we're having a good time here. Don't start. All right.
The Future Shock version, the adult version, not old man. I was not referencing old man Static.
I know you slick. You slick with it. No, but so, you know, how do you feel now, like, knowing about the return? I'm just gonna ask you this real quick. Knowing about the return and everything, would you still want to see them within the DC universe, or you know, are you over it by now? Are in terms of, like, you know what, hey, it's not bad, or would you prefer them to be in their own universe?
I feel like I'm more comfortable with them crossing over in the cartoons because I'm just used to it. Now, so more so in the comics, no, I'd rather have them separate. With maybe like a crossover, like how the Worlds collide back in the day, maybe. But yeah, as of now, no, I'm kind of over it being a part of the the DC universe in the comics. At least I'm fine in the animated landscape. Because I know when Young Justice season 4 comes out, those characters are gonna return, obviously. So, but yeah, that's how I feel about it. Yeah, but yeah, good question. But yeah, so just moving on, still on the legacy factor, but like I want to acknowledge this real quick, but like we have to realize the fact that like Milestone's legacy was so great and just so next level to the culture of like just like, you know, just comics in general, that we would not have the characters that we get, like the diverse POC characters from Marvel and DC, and just name a few, is obviously Miles Morales, Kamala Khan, and Riri Williams would not have existed without Milestone ever. Like, I don't think so, you know. And again, obviously Bendis wasn't subtle when he named his Black Spider-Man Miles, like, you know, and he's basically Static, you know, which is why growing up like Miles Morales again is my top 3 favorite characters of all time are Black Panther, Static, and Miles. So like, when I saw Miles in 8th grade, I picked up the trade in a book fair at school in 8th grade, and just like saw him, because I'm a big Spider-Man fan and always want to see myself as the character. And now here he is, you know, a Spider-Man that looks like me on a page that has kind of like Static powers and has the same like vibe with the teenage archetype that Static did. I was like, yo, it's coming me. That's what made me love Miles Morales. And it's funny because like I remember picking up the book, and then I went to math class and I was reading it while we were on break. And then one of my classmates picked up the book and was like, yo, like, you not gonna lie, you look a lot like this character. I'm like, wait, for real? Like, yeah. Even the teacher looked at me and was like, no, you actually look like this new Spider-Man. Like that's crazy. Which is my in my dreams. I'm gonna play him in live action, manifesting that in real life. You know, just keep me in the MCU. Have hashtag Mikey for Miles. Yeah, and then Kamala, you know, and Riri. I'm not really a big Riri fan, but like I'm more of a Moon Girl fan. I love Moon Girl.
Okay.
Kamala Khan again, who's getting her own show in the MCU, and then you know Miles getting Spider-Verse. You know, this would not be possible without Milestone. So, what are your thoughts on that, Shawn?
I'll say this.
Yeah,
I disagree. Right.
Facts.
As far as these particular characters, they would have come, right? But in the time it took them, which is no, right? Marvel and these big companies are now catching up to the shit that Milestone was doing ever since. But you know who was already there? The indies. You know what I mean? We gotta stop looking at Marvel and DC as setting the benchmark and all that for diversity. The diversity been there in the form of the people like Joe Illich, who was, you know, editor at Milestone and has been doing amazing things throughout the years that gets overshadowed because you know he wasn't at Marvel, he wasn't at DC. You know what I mean? He was at Valiant. I think he was the editor in chief at Valiant, and he was responsible for bringing on a bunch of people of color in the editorial department and in the creative departments. You know what I mean? People like Chris Cross, you know, who's been doing stuff. Stacey, you know what I mean? Like the indie guys have been here. We've been creating these characters. No, the impact they had on us. We wouldn't be here without them. You know what I mean? But the Marvel and DCs, they know catching up. DC they own these characters.
Exactly.
And they're no giving them the respect that they deserve. You know what I mean?
And now in the comics, they're making more like not just obviously like more characters of color, but like more LGBT characters, LGBTQI plus characters. Sorry, we gotta use the whole acronym just out of respect. But like it's just I agree. Like it just for the fact it took them this long to do so, it's just
it took them too long. You know what I mean? I implore every person to go out there and seek out more indie books, like for real. You know what I mean? If you're looking at
sorry to cut you off. Even if it's like again even though like the Marvel and DC has become, but like Image for the past like how many like for like a decade now has been making great monumental books in terms of representation.
Exactly.
Like you ever read Saga? Like Saga's insane. Like I love that book a lot. The book Saga with Brian K. Vaughan, all that stuff. And Image, Boom. Like any of those indie companies, even like again, like creators like Shawn and Stacey were just making their own books just by themselves. Like facts.
So I definitely feel that the impact that Milestone has had, the legacy is undeniable within the indie community. Like we've been known about this. You know what I mean? We've been creating characters that represent us. That's been on that grittiness, on that edge, all that stuff. These big companies, the big two, they're now catching up. Like I'm not even. I'll be honest with you. I'm glad that they are creating these diverse characters because unfortunately, they are so big that we do need them as well. But I'm not going to be so blinded that I'm going to look at them as the saviors. You know what I mean? I'm going to be like, oh, you're here. You're here to the party. Great. Come on in. It's good to have you on. But you know, we were already here. But you know what I mean? But kudos to you. So that's how I look at it. But yes, definitely shout out to Milestone for everything that they definitely were a huge influence on me and a lot of indie creators that I know personally that I feel I can speak on their behalf and be like, yo, we wouldn't be doing what we're doing without them. So
facts. All right, so just to move on now, Legacy is done. And now, obviously, we can praise and rejoice that now Milestone is coming back. And dude, like, it's just, let me go to my next slide. But yeah, like these books are coming back after a long hiatus because this was announced in 2015, and it because of delays, because of the McDuffie estate lawsuit was a factor in the delay of Milestone coming back and all that stuff. Now, like in 2021, they're finally coming back in an interesting format too, because they're doing seasons and all that stuff. But yeah, shout out to Reggie Hudlin, who literally, I remember seeing the documentary of Secret History of Comics, when the Milestone episode, when they said like after Dwayne's funeral, it was Reggie, Dennis, and Michael, and they were really just they after the funeral, they're just like, yo, like Milestone needs to come back, like it needs to come back. And Dwayne was trying to have that push, which is why again, like the Static Rebirth of the Cool was an effort to have, was supposed to be the initial relaunch of, Milestone coming back, but then he passed that right after that. So yeah, but shout out to Reggie Hudlin. If you don't know, Reggie Hudlin, for our audience, is known for television with BET, as well as movies like with House Party back in the day, and is an amazing comic writer. He's written my favorite Black Panther run of all time. I love Reggie Hudlin's run on Black Panther. But yeah, so it's Reggie Hudlin at the helm, and Dennis is back, Michael's back, Derek is back, and just getting not just the old creators like Crisscross and all those other artists from back in the day, but these new artists coming in, these new artists and writers and creatives, So yeah, Shawn, what are your first impressions of the return of Milestone coming back, fam?
First of all, it took me all the way back to that little young Shawn in the comic book store seeing Blood Syndicate for the first time. Excited. It's been long overdue. Is like, I felt they kept teasing us, and it's for it to finally be here, man. I'm overjoyed. The lineup that they got to, come on now. I can't say enough about Nicholas on Static. Crazy. Crazy. Gosh. Talk to me, Mikey. I know this. I know that's your boy. Your boy.
Has been my biggest inspiration for the past 5 years. Ever since I got on Instagram, I've been following Nick's work. I have his art book. I have his art book somewhere. It's in a box it's in a box. His art book, but fam, he is one of the dopest artists I've ever seen because he uses manga. He has Japanese influences in his style. And it's just, dude, the fact that he's doing Static right now blows my mind. I'm happy that he's getting recognition because he was on the indie scene just doing his own shit for years. And I had a chance to meet him in 2019 from New York Comic Con, and he looked at my stuff and gave me feedback and all that stuff. Man, I'm so hyped for it. And plus, now, again, you said it took you back to when you was a kid. Now, my generation, me who missed out, can now pick up a Milestone book, can pick up a Static, can pick up an Icon, and pick up a hardware. And just be, amazed. It's just wow.
I was feeling a little upset because correct me if I'm wrong here, Mikey, but I remember them saying at first that it was only going to be digital.
Digital first,
right? Yeah. And then they made the decision to release digital and print. I'm still a fan of print. I want to hold these comments. I want to save them. I'm still that guy. I got my comments downstairs. I do have some Milestone books. I do believe I have Blood Syndicate 1 still, and I have a few other ones. But with moving a few times, some stuff is misplaced. But so I'm still for that. I want to collect these books. I want to bag and board them and preserve them. So I'm excited for that. I love I know some people are going to feel they might feel a little tip of a way. I like the updated origins.
So do I.
Okay. All right.
I mean, again, because this is for my generation issues that we're experiencing rather than back then when y'all were experiencing these issues and stuff like that. So I remember another interview. I was Dennis was saying a lot of people, especially old school fans who bought the comics, did not like that they were having the Static's origin with the Big Bang being tied to a BLM protest. They wanted the gang thing to come back. When in reality, it's nah, we don't want to tell the same thing. We want to update it for today because Milestone is always about talking about issues, evolving issues rather than not just of the past. So I'm not really sure about I know that's different with Static. With the whole Big Bang is different, which I love. I love that it's a BLM protest, which pisses me off because a little bit because Milestone gave me the idea for my own universe when I was in high school, and I was doing a BLM thing.
I hate when that happens.
I was like, damn, son, I'm still gonna do it. I don't care.
Yeah.
I'm still gonna do it because I have a little twist with my thing. But yeah, like I'm not
Yeah, that's
sure about
visible. As long as you can find a twister, like you know, what I mean,
yeah.
nobody can copyright like that.
Facts. I'm not sure how. I know nothing much about hardware with any changes with that. I don't know much about Icon. Because I did you read the Milestone number 0 Infinite Edition that they dropped?
Yeah, I did.
Yeah, with the updated art, not the one from Fandom, but the one with the updated art and stuff like that. I read it and I'm like, okay, these are variants because for our audience, Milestone Return number 0 Infinite Edition was released. So like if you want to read all the new Milestone books, I recommend picking that up because like it gives basically has like it's just like brief stories of like setting up all these characters with their updated origins. So I dug what they did. I don't really remember. I don't think they really showed much of like hardware besides like any changes or with
I don't know if they're doing any changes with hardware. I'm not sure.
Icon and Rocket. I believe it because I think Icon and Rocket. They're I'm thinking like because they showed montage of him like at like a at, I think like at like an alien. Like, I think either it was the UN or like an alien like intergalactic council talking about like how issues that are faced on Earth are basically the same shit they face like in outer space, in terms of like the class systems and like economics. I thought it was very interesting. But yeah, like I'm excited. These updated origins, I'm down for them. I'm not a purist. I don't really if the core of the characters are still there, I'm all for it. I'm trying to think of the terms like so. Yeah, just to run through the creative team. So we got Vida Ayala, who's writing Static on Static, being the writer who's been killing it. I love Vida Ayala's work. We got Chris Cross doing layouts for Static as well, and we got again Nicholas Draper Ivy doing the interiors for the book. Okay, so hardware is again, I believe is Brandon Thomas. Shout out to Brandon Thomas, who does one of my favorite indie books right now, known as Excellence. Killing it as well. So we got Brandon Thomas on hardware doing writing, and we have Dennis Cowan returning for hardware, and we have Bill Sienkiewicz doing the inks, and I love Bill Sienkiewicz.
It's gonna be crazy. It's gonna be crazy.
It's gonna be nuts. So there's that. Also for Static, Kari Randolph is doing the covers. And Kari Randolph is my top 3, like one of my favorite artists of all time. I love Kari Randolph.
Like a beautiful animated style that I would love to see. I would love to see a Static cartoon
made with his style.
Using that style. Yeah,
that'd be sick. And also he also is drawing excellence with Brandon Thomas. So that's great. I'm trying to think of hardware. I know it's Reggie Hudlin, not hardware. Sorry, Icon and Rocket is Reggie Hudlin. And you have, I forget I don't know his actual name. I know his Instagram. It's Muad'Dib, like Muaadib is his Instagram. He's doing the covers. I gotta look him up. But I'm trying to remember who is doing. Oh yeah, so we got Doug Braithwaite doing the art, and one of the names is cut off. I can't really see, but yeah, that's basically who's doing Icon and Rocket. And they're doing it in seasons. What are your thoughts on the season output, Shawn? Because they're doing like just 8-issue books, and then they're going to be focusing on another story that's going to be season 2 with another 8 issues. Basically, that's like their format. What are your thoughts on that?
That's a style that I recommend to almost every comic book artist out here now. You know what I mean? The attention span of people is shorter. People like to binge watch shows on Netflix. I think people think in seasons. No, so I think it's smart. Once again, tapping into the new way of thinking. I think it makes sense from a marketing standpoint too, because on the Xion show we did a whole episode. We're talking about the business. We did 2 episodes talking about the business of comic books, right? So this is psychological warfare here too. So if you're doing a limited series, it gives people the idea of these bite-sized chunks to absorb, right? So you don't have to feel like, oh man, is this going to be like a 3,000 page run, a 3,000 issue run? No, you get this season. Oh, I enjoyed this, right?
Exactly.
Boom, you could take a break or whatever, come back for another season. Oh, I enjoyed this. It's just psychology, you know what I mean? Unfortunately, but as long as the stories are there, the artwork is there, I don't have a problem with these strategies. I think there's strategies, but I'm all for it. This is something that isn't new. Hellboy has been doing this. I'm a big fan of Mike Mignola's strategy and Mike Mignola's art. But I've been telling people about this for the longest. He does a series of series. He's been doing mini series that tell an overarching tale for years. You know what I mean? I think this is the way to do it.
Gotcha, for sure. Yeah, it reminds me of, I don't know if you ever heard of a small company that's on the rise right now called TKO Presents. They're doing a binge format. They've been doing a binge format for the past like couple years where they essentially release a series in basically like they have a bundle where like, you know, they have this cool like case where you put where all the books get mailed to you. They release it in like a series. So like they mail you the series, like maybe like 4 or 5 issues. You open it up, you read all of it, and then you wait for the next mail to come in. So yeah, shout out to TKO. But I think binge format, like the season format, is now the new way to release books now, which I mean makes sense, you know.
Yeah. I mean, there's some good and bad. Of course, if you think about what's the long-term effect, are you creating a monster? Because I remember when they were doing WandaVision, and you know they dropped it every week, and people were like, wait, what's going on here? But it created that hunger, that need for you to come back every week. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
So I do like it, but I don't think you have to do it for every single book. But I do like the idea of, for books like these where you wanna give it every advantage possible.
Facts.
Go for it. You know what I mean?
Facts.
That way you're tapping into the new age, the mind, the mentality. So you know, I think it's smart.
It is smart. But yeah, so for our audience, so like the release schedule for Milestone Returns number 0 has already been out. It's been out for the past like I think a month or two. So that's already out. You know, Static is out right now. It came out Tuesday. So again, you can pick up issue 1 of Static season 1 right now. Shawn, have you read it yet? I'm curious. I've read it.
Oh, you have? No, you're digital, right?
Yeah, no, I'm digital as of now. I have a pull list at State College, so when I go to State College, I'm gonna get my physical copies at some point.
Okay.
Yeah, but
because no, I haven't read it yet. I do want to get the physical copies. Thanks for telling me. I have to hit up my people's Atomic City Comics on South Street and see if they can hold that for me. I need to get that physical.
Yeah, I'm my pull list right now is the first 3 issues of Hardware, Icon, and Rocket, and I'm getting the entire series. I want the entire series of Static, and I'm only gonna just focus on the Icon issue 1 and Hardware issue 1. I don't want any of the rest of them.
What? Why?
I don't know why. Because I know like these issues will be these main 3 will be valuable at some point, and like I don't really want to collect. I'd rather read the rest digitally, but I want to collect the Static ones because like I love Static. So like that's just how I feel about it, you know. I don't have the money, Shawn, to keep buying all of like every series. You know, I'll just stick with Static and just buy the first issues of the rest. Yeah, so then Icon and Rocket comes out next month, and then Hardware the month after, so in August. Shawn, we can talk about again just real quick the fact that like, you know, we're waiting on Blood Syndicate, you know. Dennis Cowan did say that it is planned because at the end of Milestone issue 0 we see Holocaust, you know, with a bunch of metas, you know, starting like a revolution, it looks like. So any theories on what to expect from the Blood Syndicate?
What I think they're going to do, I could be wrong here. I think how they're going to play it is a revolutionary type of group. So most likely, you know, if they're going to be tackling social injustices and topics of police brutality and gentrification and stuff like that, I'm thinking what they're going to do with Blood Syndicate is just make them a more hard-lined, like maybe a more militaristic version of a Black Lives Matter group. You know what I mean? And but which is cool. I mean,
Yeah.
this is just a theory. This is just a guess, right?
Yeah.
That's cool. We need that too. But you know, I like the original idea of, you know, not every person that gets powers is going to be good. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
Not every person that gets powers wants to use their abilities to save the world. You know what I mean?
Facts.
But you know, that's what I think. I think that's what they're going to plan. I think that's what they're probably going to do, to paint that kind of like hard edge, but still like good guy type of thing. But
Yeah.
I don't know. I could be way off.
No,
What do you
I
think?
mean, I was thinking the same route. I mean, I feel like they could still explore, like, you know, not like the whole what you said about, like, you know, people that get powers aren't good. I don't expect Holocaust to be a good guy. Are you kidding me? You know. So like, I mean, that could still be explored, but I could see him more like, again, because now the Big Bang aspect has changed now to BLM instead of gang. So like,
Right.
they could more go with, you know, like, you know, BLM revolutionary route more so
Yeah.
than back then. But I mean,
Yeah.
honestly, we don't know. He just said that
Yeah.
it's coming eventually. But again, right now, like every time they mention it in the offices, like, you know, DC shaking their boots, being like, "Why you gotta mention
Yeah.
Blood Syndicate? Like, you know, get this gang shit out of here," you know. So,
But yo, now that I said it out loud though, yo, if they were to do some version of that where it was like a more, you know, like, you know, militant resistance to police brutality and to, you know, all these social injustices, I'm there. Sign me up. I want that. That would
exactly,
be sick.
it would be sick. It would be sick. But again, just keep this again, dude. Don't forget what y'all did before. Like, you know, keep it diverse. Keep exploring those
Yes.
interesting avenues with all the characters, and you know, that's all I want. That's the core of the team for me, is that aspect. So
You know what's crazy, fam? If they were to release Blood Syndicate and keep all that, that will probably be one of the highest selling books. Like, especially in this whole diversity climate, that's made for diversity. You know what I mean? Like their whole book, like they have a tailor-made diverse group right there. You know what I mean? Representing all kinds of everything on the spectrum. You know what I mean? So they would, if they were smart, they would hurry up and release it.
exactly. I don't know, man. It's just, it is what it is, bro.
We'll see. Yeah, man. We'll see. I just want them and then once they do it though, for me the biggest thing is keep it authentic. You know what I mean? I'm all for the diversity, and I'm all for the representation. But don't lose what I think we touched on this throughout the whole episode, the organic nature of the stories. You know what I mean? It was just there. They made it work. They spoke about the topics, but it wasn't only about that. It wasn't so heavy-handed that you cringe. You know what I mean?
Yeah, exactly.
So I hope that they're able to keep that element of it.
Exactly. Yeah, for sure. But yeah. So I guess like Shawn, now we gotta show our art, and I got them both up. So we gotta.
Okay.
So our art that we did, because we want to make this special because we wanted to make some art. I apologize for me because my shit isn't done, but I'm gonna show it anyway, and then I'm gonna add the finished one in post.
This is what we doing.
As well as Shawn, if you want to make another piece, just send it to me and I'll edit it in post. Yeah, but
I was actually here drawing as we were talking, so I have some.
All right, I'll show that hardware you did though. I'll show that one real quick, and then we'll
that'll be exclusive. Yeah, nobody else. I haven't released that to the public yet, so that would be a cool one.
All right, great. All right, so again, I'll put chapters in the YouTube video for audience. So if you want to like skip to this chapter and see the art, that'd be dope. But yeah, so here is Shawn's hardware. Let me see if I can pull it up, screen share. Hopefully it'll work. Hold on.
Yeah, I'm presently working. I figured I would do icon.
There we go. Yep. So we got hardware from Shawn. Dude, this is beautiful, bro.
Thank you, man. I appreciate it.
Like, I'm happy. I'm honored to have this as an exclusive because like this is dope.
Yeah, nobody else has seen this before. So what's funny about this is that I actually, you know, I told you about the blog I was doing, New Perspective. Actually, with me and Fabian Wood, I got to shout out Fabian Wood, and we take these characters and we give like a fresh coat of paint to them, right? I actually did technique. I mentioned technique early in the episode.
Yeah,
I
which
did
I also
technique
love.
first. Yo, yeah, if you, yeah, that to me that was one of my favorite pieces I've done. The technique piece. So what I did was I basically look at the designs of the characters I revamped and see what works, what I think would, you know, what needs to be adjusted, and what will work for today's sensibilities and functionality, right?
Word.
And so I did her first, and then to do this hardware, I actually looked at her and kind of like reverse engineered and did hardware, even though in the comic book, you know, hardware was first and technique was based on him. But
Exactly.
this hardware is kind of based on technique in a weird way.
Facts.
So,
Yeah. Nah, this dude, again, I told you this before. I love how you explored again the nanotech angle, bro. Because that's like, I think that's especially with the new costume that hardware got later on in the comics. Like that is that's essential to the character for me. And like I like the guns.
Yeah.
It's sick. Like I'm telling you, bro. Like picture like go. You can show this to Dennis or to Reggie and be like, yo, let me do hardware for a little bit. If y'all gonna do a relaunch, let me do some hardware, bro. I'd read the shit out of it.
Yeah, I appreciate that, man. To be honest with you, bro, I would love to get in on some covers. Like, I feel like I will be able to blaze some sick covers for them. So you know, we'll see. And
Word.
hopefully you'll like this icon that I'm working on too.
Facts. You wanna show like a little preview? Like you probably want to show a little preview of it on here real quick.
Oh, it's like a real simple sketch.
No, you can show it off. You can show it off. I'm going to add this in post. So like, all right. You're chilling.
Let me see if I could. Let me see if I can reverse. How do you reverse your camera? Let me see.
There should be a way to do it. You might go to I think you might.
Sorry.
No, you're fine.
I can't. So I'm just going to do it the old school way. I'm just going to do this.
All right. Let me put you on. Focus you on real quick. Ooh, I like that pose, bro.
You like that?
So you're always good at exaggerating anatomy and proportion. I love that, and it still looks sick.
Yeah, thank you, man. You know, definitely one of my signatures. I try to push myself a little bit, and one of the people that I look to is Eric Canetti. I don't know if you're a fan of Eric Canetti, but definitely one of my favorite artists.
Sounds familiar.
If you see his work, you'll know it. Like one of the most dynamic, kinetic artists out there. But Eric Canetti, man, definitely, you know, shout out to him. I always try to push my forms a little bit, you know what I mean? And I want my stuff to look organic and fluid, you know what I mean? So that's the main things I think about when I'm drawing.
Facts. All right. Well, I guess I gotta put my shit up, but like,
come on. You know, I'm waiting for it, bro. I want this.
Yeah, facts. So okay, this is what I got. So I got like some of the flats done, but I still need more work, but I'll probably finish it after this podcast. But yeah, so here's what it looks like right now. Like I got like basically like this. So I got like this really cool.
I hate
I got like, so in my mind, like with static, I kind of incorporate like you know, just streetwear as well as like, you know, a little bit of punk. So like that's why. So, like he's wearing like a denim jacket, which I use like my own like denim jacket hoodie as like a reference, and I used you know, like Japanese like streetwear, especially with the pants specifically, because I love like that Japanese streetwear look with all like the various like it's baggy and it has cool like tons of pockets and shit like that. So I took all the inspiration from it's like, again, shout out to Sketchmaster Skills on Instagram, but he did his own he drew the Injustice version of static, so I took some inspiration with that, especially like with the shoes. But yeah, it's well, and I tried to like, you know, incorporate you know, some of the old school stuff. So seeing like, you know, like those gauntlet things he had in the old comic. I have that. I got them in here. The hat's gonna have an X on it, obviously, and I'm putting like a milestone. Like I think I'm gonna put it either in the arm, like the symbol as like a patch on like the arm, or like maybe on the jacket. I'm not really sure yet, but Yeah, that's what it looks like so far. And also like I'm gonna incorporate some like graffiti a little bit, like especially on the jacket, on the back of it. I'm gonna do another piece where it's gonna be focusing on focusing on like his back, but it's gonna say don't start or won't if don't start none won't be none on the back as well.
Ooh, I'm
Yeah,
liking all that, bro. Now that
yeah.
now you actually just reminded me. So I did a new perspective of Static as well. I redesigned his look, and
Mhm.
you have me thinking about doing, as much as I love Nicholas's hairstyle, what he did with Static. I feel
Dude.
like I think I gotta add the hat.
Yeah, like that,
Like,
I used, even though like Nyx was kind of an inspiration, even though like I just looked up like someone with twists with a
mm,
hat on. They also had like the two like little strands of like the dreads on the front, but like like the way Nick is doing his style is pretty dope. But yeah, no, it's I just can't wait to just finish it up and then add the effects and all that stuff. I that's gonna listen. I'm gonna put it in post, so it's fine. And also your icon I'll put in post because thankfully we talked a bunch so that I have time to actually show the finished pieces. But yeah, man. So that's what I'm working on right now. But yeah, so I mean now it's about that time. Any Shawn, and I always do this with my podcast. But any final thoughts on just the whole conversation, the whole milestone? Anything you want to say just real quick?
just that once again, we rest in peace to Dwayne McDuffie.
Yeah, of course.
Salute to these creators for what they did, man. Here it is once again. We're talking about indie creators. You know what I mean? That these
Exactly.
guys they left some of the companies they were working for, even though, of course, Milestone joined DC later on. But originally, the whole idea is to create what you want to see. That's the legacy of Milestone left for me. And create what you see around you and what you see in the mirror. You know what I mean? That's the biggest lesson for me, man. That's why I'm to this day I'm so passionate about creating Nubian characters. And one step further, me being from the Caribbean, and shout out to the guys Matthew and from Beyond Publishing and Moles and all my Barbadian
Exactly.
peoples, injecting more Caribbean culture into my stories and my characters. But that's a that's in direct response to the call to action that these creators at Milestone put out there. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
I legendary legacy, and I hope for any creators that's watching this that you do the same, because I want to have my kids talking about the characters that you create, Mikey. I wanted to, my kids talking about the characters that POC creators cultivate in the future. So yeah,
Exactly.
just shout out to Milestone for everything that they did for us, man, for real.
For real. Yeah, I'll just say real quick again, like, thank you for like again just like that Dwayne, all the founders, Dwayne, Dennis, all of them for creating my favorite character of all time, Static, man. That opened my eyes at a very young age for me, and then discovering Milestone, and then even blowing my mind seeing that a collective of Black creators are just making characters that look like us. Because Shawn, I also had the same problem, like we've talked about before, like growing up, I just drew like I kept drawing just a white character. I didn't draw characters that look like me, like because what I was seeing was reflected in my art growing up. So
Right.
like now, seeing Milestone and inspired me to make my own Black characters. Sorry, Nubian characters. My fault. I'm sorry. I haven't said
No,
Nubian.
bro. Listen, like I said, that's just me. You know what I mean? I
No,
don't ask
nice.
anybody to say that. There's a reason that I say, but I get what I get what you're saying.
Yeah,
So it's
yeah.
no
It's
biggie.
just and just like it's and this and not just with Milestone, like and with Dwayne's contributions to animation and all that other stuff with DC,
Yep.
like I do, like literally, like I would not have known any of these small DC characters without Dwayne McDuffie at all, So it's
Yeah.
just big ups, man, and just again, shout out to like all the other artists, the staff, like Dennis, Crisscross, I'm like all of them artists, who
For
work.
real.
Like, just thank you for just making this possible, and then thanks for Reggie for having it come back. So now my generation that missed out can now read Milestone again in print. So it's
Yes.
just it's incredible. But just to close off again, I mean, obviously it's Juneteenth again, so we'll be uploading this on Juneteenth. I just want to like dedicate this podcast real quick to John Paul Leon. Again,
Yeah.
he who passed away on May 1st, 2021. So I mean, it's just he's become one of my favorite artists just for seeing him just do static alone. It's just he's been one of my I've been looking up to him for his art for a while now. Just his work for Milestone and outside of Milestone. And here's a picture of him. But yeah, man, John Paul Leon, man, R.I.P. And it's funny because Dennis was saying I think it was with what more recent interview I saw him, and he said like, yo, like JP John Paul Leon basically like he was a student at SVA at school visual arts, which is a school I love that school, but was a student when he got the milestone. He was really he was taking classes and exams and doing milestone books at the same time. Like he was having doing the milestone books as a part of his assignments in class. And it's just he was a real talent, and he's been comparing a real spark of talent that like you find like just out of a hat, and he's comparing him to Nick now. Like Nick is being put in the same pedestal with Milestone Returns, with just that raw talent that like it's just unmatched, that spark,
deserved too. Well deserved.
So yeah, again, rest in peace to John Paul Leon, man. I mean, it's a real tragedy, but man, you'll be missed. So yeah, that's it. So yeah, again, Shawn, man, shout out to Shawn, shout out to you, Shawn, shout out to David for joining us, and Stacey for joining us, even though it wasn't for long, but I was happy to have them in the conversation. We'll probably do another one, maybe just to review the books when they all come out, hopefully.
Okay.
So again, you can follow David on David Kirkman Films on Instagram and Twitter, as well as Woke Nation on YouTube, as well as his various Instagram pages for his films, so Static, Hardware, all that stuff. Just look out for that. Also Stacey, follow him at Stacey Robinson on Twitter, on Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook. I believe it's all the same. I could be wrong, but it's fine. I also like Shawn. Didn't he have an Instagram for Black Kirby? I don't know. I think it's gone. I thought he had one for Black Kirby.
I don't think that they do anymore, but
okay.
I could be wrong.
All right. I mean, I tried looking it up, but I couldn't find it yet. So like at Stacey Robinson, find me on Instagram, Twitter, Facebook. Yeah, Shawn, you wanna? I obviously know where to find you, but you wanna tell the people where to find you at?
Yeah, you can find me on Instagram, Pyroglyphics1, PYROGLYPHICS1. Also go to my website, www.pyroglyphicsstudio.com. I please follow the Xion Network, THESIONNETWORK, the Xion Network. We're on hiatus right now, but every week we have a variety show where we talk all things pop culture. Mikey's a regular on there. We're coming back with season 3.
I'm excited.
On July 11th, Mikey is going to be making a special appearance as the game master. We are going to be doing a whole trivia season 1 premiere. I can't wait. I'm nervous and excited. So looking forward to it.
Facts. Yeah, I'm also very excited for that. But yeah, I'll put if I've forgotten, I'll put all of your contact and like your social media in the description of the video when it's uploaded. But
okay.
All right, Bill. Yeah. Again, thanks again for people who are watching, who will watch this, because this isn't a live stream. I'm so used to live streams. But thanks for people who will watch this. Again, happy Juneteenth for our Black brothers and sisters, our Nubian brothers and sisters who are going to be watching this. Again, follow these guys who just joined me today. Subscribe to the channel. And
thank you, Mikey. Yo, appreciate you, man. You are the future, brother. Your mind, your spirit, your artwork, everything that you're doing, is amazing. Just to see somebody so young, so talented, so driven, hardworking guy, man. I'm excited to see what you do in the future, and I'm glad that thank you for the invitation to be on here, man.
It's no problem. Anytime, man, for real. It's just a real pleasure doing this podcast. It was so much fun. Probably the most fun podcast I've done. Like, I've done a lot of good ones. So, yeah. But also, again, people, buy the books, buy Static right now, buy Milestone right now. Gotta
Yes.
keep it going for sure. So, all right, well, we'll catch y'all next time. All right, peace.
Peace.